Hey everybody, welcome back to the Nerdcast. It is Devin broadcasting as always, live from an undisclosed location in the center of Texas. Joined with Justin.
Howdy.
How you doing?
I'm okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I don't hear.
All things considered.
I gotta tell you, I haven't heard that as a response today a whole lot. I've had a lot of people messaging me. Okay is kind of a rarity right now.
I mean, I'm bummed.
Yeah.
But it's like, It's weird because I kind of thought this was a done deal back when Biden was refusing to, like there's no way he wins, and I just kind of relegated to this eventuality, and I was.
Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. Gonna cut off the music here.
Oh.
Yeah, you could definitely hear it. No barking.
The dogs are really upset that Trump won.
Yeah, they can't handle it down there. They're putting their little pussy hats on.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. Oh my god. I got 1 second. I gotta fucking.
You can close the door. I guess.
I don't want to cut the cats off from their food and water.
Okay.
Or their litter box.
I mean, you could bring the dogs up here. Oh, we got 5 viewers, dude. To those just joining, I am sitting in here while Devin tends to his dogs, the hounds. Evening, Street Corner Becky. Devin is he's downstairs attending to his dogs, trying to quiet them down. They are beside themselves with agitation at my presence.
Sheldon.
There you go.
I'm just gonna have to close the door. Oh my god. Fucking annoying ass dog. Alright. Can you still see it? Move to the next one. A little bit. Hey Vince, how you doing? Welcome back to the stream. How's your night treating you? I forget what you were talking about before I got.
Oh, I was just saying that, like, I don't know. I had come to, on some level, come to terms with the inevitable pull of the, Schwartzfield radius. You know what I'm saying? Back when Biden wouldn't concede and wouldn't step aside, and so it wasn't like. I mean, I really thought I actually thought she was going to win. You know what I mean? Especially after that Iowa poll came out. Everyone's like, oh my God, this is the gold standard of polls. She's never been wrong in a million years. And she has Trump down by 3 in Iowa. This is unbelievable. And I was like, oh, okay, that seems like they've got this sewn up. And then when I was kind of not following it on purpose. I had a lot of work to do, you know?
Yeah.
And then, but on my computer, I've got a Mac, and like newsflash broke up when he won Georgia. I was like, oh, that's it. Done. It's over. This is over, you know. I was like, "Oh, drag." Well, that's a bummer.
This is what I tweeted when, right before right before the election. I have a bad feeling about this because that was just the vibe. That was just the vibe, and of course,
it was the vibe on some level because my daughter had a dream that he won like 3 days before the election. She's like, "I had a dream Trump won the election," and she's like, "I think he's gonna win." And I was like, "I don't think so. I mean, that." Iowa poll. It seems like they got their shit sewn up. She's ahead in every poll. Like what? Yeah.
So she has clairvoyance or something.
I guess, man. I don't know.
It's funny. This was so the election was yesterday, and I posted this yesterday, but like literally all day I've just been like rage posting. It's just been like, I'm kind of with you in that like. So well, here's the thing. This is the tricky part about it. Yeah, there was that sense of like, okay, this is done when Biden, especially after that debate and all of that.
Oh yeah, like I thought, like we've got a really good chance of bringing this home. But
Right.
I will say, there were two things I didn't take into account. Just the amount of people who are just cool with Trump. They think he's cool, and that, you know what I mean. There's just a fuck ton of people in America that are cool, and B, a large portion of Americans are just never going to vote for a woman for president. You know what I mean? They're just not going to do it.
I think.
Well,
I think it's two things to that point. One, yes, there are a lot of people that are just cool with Trump, but he did lose a lot of votes that he had in 2020. Like he's 3 million under what he got in 2020. So he lost.
Well, did people not vote?
Yeah,
they just stayed home.
There was a tremendous. So
all those Haley voters that Kamala was trying to get so hard, they just were like, yeah, I'd rather not vote than vote for Kamala.
So look at the popular vote. America didn't get more right wing. It just gave up on the National Democratic Party. Trump lost 3 million votes, and Harris and Biden lost 15 million votes. So if you look at this dude's original post, which I forget where it's at, you could see what the popular vote numbers were in both of these elections and compare them. And yeah, he lost a lot. But she lost way more. She didn't even crack the 66, or I think she had 66 million, which was like way below. Like Biden had 81 million in 2020.
Yeah, it's true, and there are a couple of ththings. There are a couple of
and then you talk about the Nikki Haley thing, how registered Republicans voted.
Yeah.
In 2020, 94% voted for Trump, 6% for Democrats. In 2024, 94% for Trump, 5% for Democrats.
Yeah.
So I guess barnstorming with Liz Cheney.
They got that 1%.
No, they lost the 1%.
Okay, yeah.
They lost that one. There was a Republican somewhere out there. There was a Republican that was like, I'll give this Kamala a try, and then they saw Liz Cheney and was like, fuck it, I'm out.
Yeah, I have no idea, man. It is, obviously the idea that you can convince independents that lean conservative, that the election is essentially won, lost with appealing to these people. They've been doing this. Since I started paying attention.
Yeah.
Since Dukakis. Excuse me. Like, Dukakis didn't seem all that interested. Maybe he was, because he's in the fucking tank with the helmet on. But, he was considered, like, super liberal at the time, And then when Clinton shows up the next time around, he's all about, like, he's tacking a lot farther to the right. I mean, the idea that he was an attempt to appeal to, your boomers who maybe voted.
Well, the idea, like, it was because of what happened with the primary between Jimmy Carter and Ted Kennedy. Like, there was a concerted effort by, after, such an acrimonious primary, and, Ted Kennedy eventually acquiesced to Carter, and Carter was going to be the clear nominee. They felt that the progressive wing of the party going so hard against Carter when they weren't going to win hurt Carter's chances at re-election against Reagan. And then when Reagan won his re-election campaign, the message that Democrats got from that was, okay, that progressive shit's not happening anymore.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We're just gonna be Republican. We gotta run as Republican lights in this.
And
climate.
I understand to some degree why they would feel that way, because we had 12 years of Republicans.
Yeah.
We actually, for the first time, that's the last time in my lifetime that we had, like, someone did 8 years and then someone picked it up right after that.
The vice president was actually picked. Yeah, that hasn't happened since then. And honestly, I don't think it really happened before. Honestly, the last vice president I could think of that picked up from the president was Gerald Ford. That was extenuating circumstances.
Yeah, but for someone that actually won an election, you have to go back to World War II, I think. You know what I mean? Because World War II, you have FDR, and then you have Truman coming in as a Democrat after FDR ran. Where FDR did.
Okay, Truman wasn't his vice president, though, right?
No, he was.
He was?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that part. Okay, yeah, well then I guess it would be like fucking.
So there you
FDR
go.
served for like 4 years,
And that
or
actually,
4 terms,
yeah,
rather.
4 terms, and that actually goes to my earlier point I made via text,
which is
where-
even crazier than the 12 years, you know.
Yeah, well, totally. And that's how much everyone liked him. But there's a cyclical nature, I think, to the general to the way people, the way they're oriented toward politics. You know what I mean? It's like whoever is in power, it's like, let's give the other guys a shot. There's a lot of people who just have this sense of, well, I'm kind of in the middle. I don't really think either one side's on. Oh, sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong. I kind of like to, if these guys have been out for a while, let's throw this over to these. There's a natural tendency, I think, a very human tendency to see things in that light. So anytime you're running against the people in office, it's very difficult for people running in office, especially if you're the vice president of the president, to be like, well, I mean, the thing is that what I will say, in Harris's point, is like, dude, if you're going to run as an incumbent to some degree, which she kind of, had to, at least look at your record and present it in a very favorable light, which they didn't do that great a job at.
Yeah.
They asked her the very first question in the debate, which she did great in the debate in general, but the very first question is, are people better off now than they were 4 years ago? And her answer should have been, well, considering everybody was basically in their fucking house hoping they didn't die of a new infection 4 years ago, yeah, I'd say they're considerably fucking better.
And that's the crazy thing to me is that, like, okay, so yes, she should have taken advantage of the incumbency advantage that she had. The problem, the anchor that was around her neck in that regard is that, and this is something that has happened with every incumbent around the world that had to deal with post-COVID inflation.
Sure,
is that just dealing with inflation on your watch, you're gonna get dinged for it.
But you're right. But the thing about it is that at no point did she make any attempt, or did really any Democrat?
Oh wait, let me before you finish that, I will preface this by saying she ran a dog shit campaign.
Well,
so,
I mean, there were some things like her debate performance, great. You know what I mean? When it first started out, her campaign seemed to have a lot of good vibes. I guess October wasn't the best month for her. Obviously, she fucked up somewhere because she didn't win. And, Trump is like the worst. But to me, it's like people are stupid. But you gotta, if you're going to be saddled with inflation, you should explain it. You're like, well, here's the thing. America didn't we didn't hit a recession after COVID. Right. We were one of the only first world economies in the world that didn't.
Yeah.
We did that by injecting a ton of money into the economy, which saved a ton of stuff. Now, when you do that, inflation goes up. The cool thing is we've actually used monetary policy to control it, and it's down now. You know what I mean?
I have some issues. You're right. I have some issues with how we use monetary policy to do that, because there are a number of ways that you can, control inflation. Like Richard Nixon was the last president that did it in a way that didn't involve raising interest rates, because raising interest rates will also hurt people economically. Like, a lot of people lost jobs because of the interest rate hikes. Like a lot of people, they got hit on, whatever loans that they had to take out for, car repairs. A lot of people have been putting grocery bills on credit cards and shit. And if you have to open a new line of credit to fix your car, I did about a month ago, a little over a month. Actually, no, it wasn't. Holy shit. That was July or June when I came back from Japan. My car, the tie rods underneath were busted. I had to replace them. And my insurance only covered like a portion of it, so I had to get a credit card for like $1,200 to foot the bill for the rest. But I was fortunate enough that I could open up a line of credit and then immediately pay it off when my next paycheck came in. But if I didn't have that fortune, then those are inflated interest rates on yet another card on an expense that gets piled on to increase grocery bills or increase rent or all this other stuff. So like the monetary policy thing to control inflation to a degree, yes, it worked, but it wasn't without its own consequences. And this is the overarching point of, I think, this election that Democrats need to learn. When there were polls about, how if people thought America was heading in the right direction, and overwhelmingly people were like, no.
Well, everyone always says that. You know what
not
I'm saying?
to the degree that
like
not
when was
quite,
the last time that people didn't say that? You know what I mean? That you remember? Like I don't remember a time.
2012 Obama. People generally
I know.
thought,
I think the polls at that time, depending on who they asked, that they didn't think America was headed in the right direction.
But not like the number, because the numbers was like fucking, you're damn near 60%. Like a lot of people were like, no, it's not. And it's really, because incumbents still win, even if those polls come out and it's like, oh, people think the country's in the wrong direction, like an incumbent can still win, despite that. If there is a compelling enough narrative to that speaks to people's day-to-day experiences. The problem with that poll in relation to people's day-to-day experiences is that the only way that the Biden administration has been talking about how they've been combating inflation has been through esoteric, financial, policies, talking about, raising interest rates, or, talking about, things they do here and there. Like, because we didn't do the things that people feel in their wallets, like raising your minimum wage. We did things around it that kind of helped. Some people did benefit
raising
directly.
Minimum wage, I think that's great. We should definitely do that. But, it doesn't really, it helps with inflation. You know what I'm saying? With dealing with inflation, but it doesn't actually do anything about inflation itself.
No, what it does, but no. So two things. One, it's not, it is anti, and it isn't, I don't know what the proper terminology is, but it is a policy that can help combat inflation just by the virtue of the fact that, inflation is caused by demand outpacing supply, generally speaking. And if you, and a big part of why supply has, in a lot of respects, has suffered post-pandemic, is because, we had that big period of time when people were like, there are jobs, but, we can't find people to hire, but to fill. And then you have these stories where it's like, okay, well, Wendy's or CVS or whatever are starting off jobs at $15 an hour, and they have no problem filling these jobs. People just prioritized, okay, we're not going to, risk our lives during a pandemic or whatever for $8 an hour or some shit like that. And so there was more awareness of what people's labor value was worth that kind of caused people to move towards a direction of, we're only going to work for this X amount of money. And some states have started to acquiesce to that. Like even in the election yesterday, I think Missouri, even though they voted for Trump, they had ballot initiatives that both, I think,
they had
legalized
a couple of wacky ballot initiatives.
They legalized abortion, and they instituted $15 hour minimum wage. So despite, you would think that a state that would do those two things would vote for like a party that promotes those two things, but Karas's campaign didn't promote it.
Well, that's the thing. They didn't. You're right. So they didn't really promote that.
To finish my point real quick is that it's really difficult to win an argument on for people that feel like, country's heading in the wrong direction. I'm not better off now than I was X amount of years ago, because I go to the grocery store and that package of ham that used to be $2.50 is now $5. That is as simple and cut and dry an experience that a person can have. Is, fuck, it's $5. It used to be $2, and then they get mad about it. It's really difficult to argue against that if you don't have a policy that directly speaks to that. So they didn't run on, we're gonna give you money. That helped Biden in 2020 when he was like $2,000 checks, and we're gonna raise the minimum wage.
Well, no, I think, that goes to my earlier point I made earlier today. It's like, if they're gonna fucking lose, you can twist that off, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. If they're gonna lose, they might as well have fucking, they might have offered some shit. You know what I mean? Offered some stuff the way Trump offers stuff that you don't have to explain.
They
genuinely
didn't think they were going to lose.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Like, how do we keep getting caught so fucking surprised? It happened. That's the only thing I have to wonder about, if sexism plays a huge role. Because the thing is that like they were pretty sure that Biden was going to win. The polls reflected generally what happened. It wasn't a big surprise, but it seems that 2 times the polls were just completely out of whack. Like the polls all said this.
The polls, for the most part, were right this year. Like that, there were some outlier polls, and that last poll from, what is it, Seltzer, the Iowa poll, fucking 17 points off the mark.
Yeah, dude.
No idea.
And supposedly she's never been wrong, like ever.
She's been wrong twice.
Yeah, like but by
not
a small
by,
margin.
not by like huge margin.
That's my point. It's like, why is it that surprising at this point? Why are we like, holy shit? People don't like Kamala Harris. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
I think that
hold on. Keep talking.
Sure.
Listen to it.
I don't think it was like so. Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can find a post I did some months ago, or actually just some weeks ago, I should say. Okay, I posted this October 11th. This was a friend of mine, the owner of the Weedy Dogs that can't shut the fuck up. She bought us tickets to go see The Apprentice. That is Sebastian Stan's.
Yeah. Was it good?
I enjoyed it. So she told me that. She was like, I got it. And we had this conversation. I said, ooh, nice. Though I'm too doom-pilled to fully appreciate it right now. She said, it has good reviews, blah, blah. I said, okay. I said, I'm sure it's good. I'm sure it's good, but I feel like Trump is going to win. She goes, no way. Why? And I said, I'm getting the same feeling I got in 2016. She's been running a far-right campaign and disengaged her base. Now there's polling out showing her behind in Michigan and Wisconsin. I mean, the polling is all over the place, but the trends have been going downward. So even in October 11th, like the warning signs for Michigan and Wisconsin, which I think she did lose both.
She did lose both. But
have been there.
It's funny. You told me she's down in the polls at one point, and so I started watching them for a while. And when I started watching them, she was up in those swing states. And I was like, it seems like this is handily under control. She's like at least 3 or 4 points up in these swing states. She's got this on lock. I guess Devin just caught it on a bad day. You know what I'm saying? But that's the thing. It's just like I think there's a certain aspect of like people just when they're asked questions by people calling them up or whatever, they're just not gonna say how truly sexist they are. You know what I mean? There's just a certain subsect like, no, I'm gonna vote for Harris, and they get in there and it's like, yeah, she kind of reminds me of my mom. I hate my mom. Goodbye. You know what I mean?
This also makes Trump the first president since Grover Cleveland to serve 2 non-consecutive terms. It's a little factoid. That also made employers have to provide paid sick leave. Yes, that's another ballot initiative, which is fucking amazing. And that's what pisses me off so much about the Tim Walz pick is one of his biggest claims to fame was that he passed that in Minnesota with a 1-vote majority in the Minnesota State House, which is like the only thing I ever want. Like, just give me that one extra guy and then do some shit. So, like, they had this candidate, and he was great talking about it. He was great, like, he's a great communicator in selling a lot of these you know, programs that will benefit people. But they didn't utilize him that much in that way. Like there was another one that let me start to find. I've been posting like fucking crazy, but let me start to find. There was a this one right here. Hold on. So from the Lever News, paid sick leave just passed with 74% of the vote in the GOP stronghold of Nebraska. Just before, and by the way, Nebraska had a ballot initiative about abortion that did not pass. They actually voted against it. But even in voting against Nebraska or abortion, they were still like fucking 74%. You know, just before being put on the ticket, Tim Walz said Dems' top priority should be. This was before he was the VP. Said should be championing paid sick leave, and this is what he said about it.
I think one of the things is that people really see because it empowers their family. It shows it. I think the paid family and medical leave. We're the last nation on earth basically to not do this. It is so foundational to just basic decency and financial well-being. I think we should do paid family medical leave across the country. And I think that would start to change both finances, attitude, strengthen the family. This is one, if J.D. Vance is right about this, that we should make it easier for families to be together, then make sure that after your child's born that you can spend a little time with them. That'd be a great thing.
Great way of also.
Yeah,
I think one of the things
that's a great way to just talk about it. You know, that's a great way to talk about a brilliant program that even a red state, 75% of them want.
And that's, I think we're getting like bogged down. I mean, I think in general we can both agree that, you know, Harris as an incumbent should have presented the record in a more glowing way than she did. You know what I mean? Well, because she didn't have much of a choice. She needed to.
But let me ask you this question: should she have embraced the Biden-Harris policies or the Biden-Harris record, or should she have detached herself from it? because there is a contingent of thought that says that this moment when she was asked,
yeah.
you know, she says nothing.
I've read that article.
Yeah, like that. She should have taken the opportunity to divorce.
Well,
because Joe Biden has record low disapproval.
Exactly.
Or record low approval.
Here's the thing that I will say about that moment. So, I would say, if I was her, I mean, if I were her, obviously this question was going to be asked. There were several key misses. As good as she did in that debate, there were several things that I'm like, dude, did she not have an answer prepared for that? I think in general, Americans, as dumb as we can be, don't like it when someone asks a politician a question and they answer this thing over here. Yeah. You know what I mean? We just can't fucking stand it.
I call it the weave.
Yeah, whatever. Trump does it. Trump's a little more straightforward about it, but he's actually really shitty about it. Like Harris was very disciplined. She moves and talks about the things she wants to talk about. Vance is the same way. I'm sure Walz is well. I didn't watch that debate.
Media train.
Yeah, they're just that's very what politicians do. They don't want to talk about what the question was, and so they talk about this thing over here that Trump is really terrible at it. So he just kind of fucking just goes off. He's like, and childcare is childcare. He's just off in space. But there's a thing. My thing is that like, you should know they're going to ask you these questions. This is boilerplate basic shit. She should have had a fucking answer, a killer answer ready to go. Yeah. Yes, and this is why. Well, what would you do different? Well, here's some things I think we should do different. I think we came out of the pandemic. We laid a good foundation for moving things forward. But you know what? Inflation, even though we've dealt with it and it's actually under control, prices are still too high. And I've got some things I want to do about it. Because going forward,
And this is the thing. Like, she's the vice president. People understand that the vice president doesn't have
and she should say
power.
that.
And
She's
she
like,
should say that.
What do you want? I'm not the president. You guys realize that, right? This is going to be my thing. This is what I want to do. We laid some groundwork. This is Act 2. You know what I mean? We're in Act 1. We had the inciting incident. This is Act 2. Basic shit. I mean, you could easily come at these questions. You shouldn't dodge the question, are people better off now than they were 4 years ago?
Because the second you dodge it,
people know the answer is no. Yeah, if the answer isn't yes, every other thing out of your mouth is no. Yes. And that's basic shit. Like to me,
and like
lie.
Just fucking lie.
Well, that's. I'm gonna.
If you are a politically craven person that just wants to obtain power,
Trump has proven that you can say almost anything, and people that want to hear it will go along with it. But here's the thing. So that's how I would have dealt with that. You know what I mean? Lauded the record. Presented it in the most glowing light, have all the numbers ready to go.
And by the way, you mentioned the COVID thing. That's something that I was always baffled that they never brought up.
I know.
Like, how do you campaign against Trump? And the first thing out of your mouth isn't, well, at the end of his tenure.
Yeah.
Thousands.
Look at Gavin Newsom.
Of thousands of
Gavin
Americans.
Newsom had no problem pulling that shit out against Hannity. You know what I mean? And it's like, dude, that's like boilerplate. It's like right there. It's low hanging fruit.
It's a gimme.
So there's that. But also there's the question, I think the bigger question, and this is like what I think the Democrats really have to look at going forward. You know what I mean? Is that, and we go back, ever since, we'll go back to Dukakis. You know what I mean? They've been after Carter and all the Reagan years and essentially the entire 80s. The entire 80s were Republican. You know what I mean? And in the first 2 years in the 90s. So after all that, Democrats came out, the whole neoliberal thing, they had a very different bent, than they classically had. Your New Deal Democrats were generally not, they were. Oh yeah,
the New Deal Democrats died with Jimmy Carter.
So the thing is the Democrats, like, I'm not sure their version of, this kind of like tacking to the center. We're a center left party, mainly a center party, because the shit's gone so far to the right. I'm not even sure
pretty center right now.
A center left party anymore. Maybe
when you campaign with Liz Cheney and you're juicing up Dick Cheney's endorsement.
Well, here's the thing.
It's hard to say you're center left.
Here's the thing. There are people in her campaign making mid six figures that have thought about this shit. For every second that I spent trying to figure out like fucking baselines for commercials and stuff, they have thought about politics. They've read all the books. They've done it. And they've looked at all the data.
That's their problem. They did too much reading.
Too much reading. My dad used to say, too much college. But this is what they said. This works, and they obviously had her do it. I mean, look at Tim Walz. I mean, he comes off. He's got this really great kind of like progressive record, and he doesn't really run on it very much, and they generally just kind of tack. They spend a lot of time talking about how they're not Trump and how dangerous Trump is. But the thing is that that's only really appealing to like you, me, Jimmy Kimmel, and a bunch of people that like agree with us.
It's appealing to people who they already know are going to vote for them.
Exactly. The thing is most people who are like, there's a fuck ton of Americans who just don't follow this shit that much. They know that Trump was kind of wacky. He said some bad shit, but they don't really know. They can't even tell you what a fascist is. They don't know the difference between fascist and socialist. They don't even thought about it that much.
Yeah.
They spent way more time picking their fucking fantasy football players and shit like that. That's what America is. And the thing is like trying to explain to those people, you know what I mean, how bad Trump is, or making your argument that, hey, I'm not Trump, and that should be good enough. That just doesn't really hit them like it hits us. Yeah. But going forward, should we just say, fuck this shit? You know what I mean? And just make some promises. Because, I mean, yeah, it's easy to say now that she lost. Because, honestly, I thought she was going to win 3 days ago.
Oh, I've been saying this the entire time. Like,
yeah, and you have. It's true. But my point was, like, obviously people that, like, do this for a fucking living know that this is a voting bloc that decides elections, and they're going after it. Yeah. So I'm gonna, Clinton didn't go to Wisconsin and Michigan. She probably should have. Although after this, I gotta say, I'm not sure I would have really been helped that much. But so the thing is,
they're also like.
They're not exactly the same. Sure.
Extenuating circumstances with respect to.
I think there was a narrative that, like, yeah, that's true, but at the same time, it's like that's a whole other thing, honestly, that we.
But it's very specific to like two states that have a very large,
very specific to Michigan. Although I mean, for everyone who didn't vote for her, you know what I mean, over that, they are in for a fucking nasty surprise. You know what I mean, coming forward. I really hope that's not what cost her Michigan, because, dude, those people are going to be significantly dismayed, and they're going to wish they could get in a fucking time machine. Anyway, but that's a whole other thing. But it's one of those things, like, maybe going forward, they should just say, like, here's the deal, healthcare for all. You know what sucks? Doctor's bills. Those are done. That shit's over. You elect me. That shit's done. I'm going to do it. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be diamond encrusted. You're going to fucking love it. You know
obviously, that's what they should say. Like,
oh, shit.
Oh.
Almost went over backwards.
There's a reason why they don't. Like, there's a reason. Like, okay, you say they should do that sort of stuff. Obviously, we're totally aligned there.
I'm saying it's about time, because they've tried everything else.
We are in this position we are in right now because the last guy that did that was close to winning. He was racking up primary wins in 2020, and then Obama stepped out of the shadows and organized like an incredible campaign, a Super Tuesday campaign that saw every other primary Democrat drop out and endorse Joe Biden. That worked. It worked. And we shifted off from making those kind of promises to being more of a standard Democrat. I will say, though, because of Bernie's popularity and, the fact that he, had proven that running a campaign on those kind of issues can win you states, he was able to create a coalition between him and Biden that resulted in things like having a very pro-union NLRB and Lena Khan and the FCC and all these other things that have benefited workers to a tremendous degree
that we didn't hear anything about during the election.
We didn't hear fucking shit about.
You know what I mean? Especially when the fucking Teamsters didn't come out. It's like, dude, this has been the most pro-union administration since the fucking Carter administration, and you guys are gonna have the audacity not to endorse us. You know what I mean? I was like, I would have been like, dude, I think those guys are smoking crack, and I don't, but I there is a lot of stuff that Biden did in this. I think people will look back, historians will look back on Biden's 4 years and go, did a lot of good shit considering what he was dealing with. You know what I mean? Yeah, there were some pitfalls, but I mean, honestly, he gets a lot of flack for Afghanistan. I think that shit took political courage. That shit
don't have a
was
problem
going to be a
with it.
disaster either way.
There's no graceful way to lose a war.
No.
So I don't have a problem with Afghanistan. There were things here and there that I didn't care too
Israel
much for.
will be Israel.
That's the big one.
Will be around his neck.
That's the big one in my view.
Man, and I have to wonder. They've done the math. That's the thing. I guess I'm pretty cynical. I don't generally think that a lot of these positions are because of just personal positions. Like I think that they've done the math and that
it's impossible for them to have done the math and reach that conclusion, because there's some dude made a blog that collated every single poll between July and the election of voter sentiment around Israel Palestine, and every single poll showed that there was only a net positive for an arms embargo, and you lose nothing. Like you gain and lose nothing.
Yeah, but why wouldn't they do it?
That's the question.
No, the thing is that it's not. There's a reason. It's not nothing. Everything happens in politics. Everything happens for a reason. What do you think the reason is? I don't know. I would have to say either somehow Israel has the other half of the American heart locket. You know what I'm saying? And what I mean by that is that there's something that we don't know about, that if we got government clearance and some guy in a fucking Men in Black suit sat us down and explained debriefed us for 20 minutes, we'd go, oh. Maybe that's giving him too much credit, but I'm saying it's going to be something like that. You know what I mean? Something like that we haven't even thought about. You know what I mean?
I think it's much more basic than that. I think it's the reason why we support Israel to the extent that we do is because it's beneficial for us in a variety of ways, both in terms of the access to resources there.
Well, that's my point. Obviously, there's
also the canal that a lot of shipping from east to west goes through.
Maybe that's it. Yeah, maybe someone could explain it and say well, here's the deal. If we did this, this, and this, we would lose this, this, and this, and this. It would make this and more horrible, and
they
cost
can't
us this,
say
this,
that
and that.
Though, because it would make in light of the images that were coming out, it would make them look like the most heartless sons of bitches
exactly
imaginable.
But that's what I believe. I believe there is something like that. That's my point I'm trying to make. I'm not sure. I don't know what it is.
But the thing is,
there's a cold calculus.
But that calculus is psychotic. The opposite side of that would just be, okay, we still control this area, right? Israel, for however they might disagree with this sentiment, they're a vassal state to America.
Vassal state.
They are.
You've been playing too much of that fucking, what's that game you've been playing? Kingdom or whatever it's called.
Oh, Kingdoms and Castles.
Yeah, Kingdoms and Castles.
But that's what I mean.
They are kind of a vassal state.
That's ostensibly what they are. And that's why they need so much of our money and weaponry and all that sort of stuff. If that is the reason, we control it anyways. So it wouldn't cost us anything to just stop, fueling all of these violent images and gain that support and lose nothing.
Yeah, but that's not the way. Obviously, we lose something. And that's the thing. If we lost nothing, they would do it. Believe me, they read the fucking news.
I don't think the Democrats... we're talking about this after they somehow fucked up an election that should have been easily won. I don't think they're that competent to have we study all the tea leaves and we've reached.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
I think it's
I know a Democratic operative. You know what I mean? I don't know him super well. You know what I mean? But he's the brother of a colleague of mine, and he is I think fairly high up in the organization. And the dude is crazy smart. You know what I mean? It's not a lack. It's like I had someone explain the fall of the Roman Empire, and he was like, the Roman Empire, that it was filled with the senators and the people that were. It's like some of the smartest people that have ever, if you read the writing, have ever existed, and they still fucked it up. You know what I mean? I don't know what the calculus is, but there is a calculus. I just don't know what it is.
I'm sure that there is.
You know what I mean? I wonder what it is, because it seems to you and me like, holy shit, this is a no-brainer. Can you do anything? Anything? You know what I mean? And the answer seems to be, no, we're just going to let this play out. It's like, but they know that they're taking a hit for that. But it's whatever it is still, it's still worth the subterfuge or the continuation of whatever it is they're doing. I don't know what it is. There's got to be something.
On our amendment issues, was legalizing sports betting, abortion, letting non-citizens vote, ranked choice, allowing new casinos in the Ozarks. Nothing too wacky. Well, I mean, I feel like
letting non-citizens vote. You gotta be shitting me.
That sounds like bait. That's like a bait.
Yeah, no shit.
That's a bait prop there. Legalizing sports betting is still being counted, and that's close. Abortion passed, minimum wage, paid sick leave passed. Oh, and there was an amendment to fund LEOs.
I read that Legos the first time. Legos?
That failed miserably. What's LEO?
I don't know. We should Google it.
What's LEO, Vince? Oops.
LEO Pro. Go LEO Pro.
Law enforcement officer. Oh, okay. So there was an amendment
to fund retirement.
There was an amendment to fund cops' retirements that failed miserably. That's awesome. You see, this is like the shit where it's like,
yeah, but
red state, but
yeah, exactly. But in a and that's a messaging issue. I mean, maybe that's a perfect example of what you're talking about. You know, maybe they should just fucking run with this shit. Maybe they just didn't give these people something to vote for. Yeah. You know what I mean? Maybe
I think that's what it is.
I mean, it should have been like the fucking third act of Batman, the 1989 movie, where he's like, you know, me, I'm giving away free money. And where is Batman? You know what I mean? It's like, maybe they should have just been like, dude, healthcare, paid sick leave. You want this shit? You got it. You
on top of that, yeah.
Universal basic income. We're doing it all, buddy. I've checked out the budget. Turns out we're buying all kinds of jets and planes that we're not even using.
Oh,
we can fucking half that shit, still be better than every other country in the world. And we can just fucking, you want to go to the doctor? You want to go to the movies for free 3 times a week, dude? You want a massage? We'll do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I feel like the other thing is, like, yes, that, like...
Even if you don't do it, say you will.
Yeah, exactly. Even
fucking Trump didn't build a wall. Fucking Obama didn't give us, national health care.
No.
They gave us essentially some weird fucking thing you have to sign up for.
Even worse, he forced us at the barrel of a gun to be customers to for-profit health insurance companies.
I mean, I guess they can't deny us coverage from a pre-existing condition. That's the only thing we got.
That's
the only thing we got.
You know, and then so even with Biden, like, you know, PRO Act, we didn't get that. You know, $15 minimum wage, we didn't get that. Fucking John Lewis Voting Rights Act, we didn't get that. The fucking George Floyd Justice for Policing Act, we didn't get that. You know, he promised us $2,000 checks and we got a $1,600 one. Okay, fine. You know, like, and the child tax credits was great, but then they expired and he didn't fucking fist fight Joe Manchin to bring it back. So there was a shit ton that I just mentioned there that he ran on. He ran on all those things.
Maniacal Toaster has joined the chat.
He ran on all those things and fucking didn't pass a goddamn one of them.
Yeah.
You know?
Hey, man.
But he tried.
Yeah, at least he said it.
For some of it. He tried for some of it.
I mean, the thing is that, like...
But he said it.
If they said, like, well, you said this and it didn't pass, I'm like, yeah, you know, I tried to do that, but it turns out Republicans are terrible.
Just be like,
boom.
Look at how many, I'm sorry, how many Republicans in
the
Senate
exactly.
voted for it? All of them? Every single last one of them? You should probably take that.
What I would do is go into your front yard, find a rock, and if you see a Republican, smash him in the face with it. Because honestly, it's up. If it wasn't for him, you'd have national health care right now. Because I tried to do it. They'd be like, Justin's saying crazy shit again. Well, then the thing, he'll be like, I love this crazy guy.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I mean?
That's the thing. It's like
we're in the era of crazy.
Oh, yeah. And honestly, I had a theory that goes way beyond all this stuff earlier. I was talking to Erin, you know, she was like, how can this happen? And I was like, you know, I think to some degree
Oh, by the way. Hello, it is me, and oh boy, they did a hell of a job, didn't they? Oh, what's up, Toaster? Welcome back to the stream. Hope you're having a good evening. Continue.
You know, it's like people say, how in God's name can Donald Trump get away with all this shit? All this shit he says, all this shit he does, and people just are cool with it. You know, it's like no one, like, dude, back in the like 1992 campaign, and I'm old, so I remember this shit. Hey,
yo, Catherine Kelly, what's up?
Catherine Kelly,
what up? Are we coping all right?
Yeah, we're coping. We're good. I'm actually okay. You know, shit's gonna get weird, but you know,
well, it's gonna get worse than weird. But what can you do?
Honestly, I was really bummed out, and then I thought back to all the years during the George H.W. Bush campaign. I mean, we had 8 years of that shit. You know what I mean? We had 8 years of W. And I remember thinking he was the fucking Antichrist. Oh, what I wouldn't give to have him back in office.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
He was still fucking.
Oh, he sucked, but dude.
But that's the thing though. It's progress. It's the worst. It's the worst. It's the other type of progressivism. It gets progressively worse and worse.
But
so,
also
like,
too,
it's not
Trump is just fucking annoying. It's like you hear about him all the time. He says crazy shit all the time. He's on the news fucking all the time. It's like 4 years of Donald Trump is just like 4 years of like every single talk show host talking about just making fun of him and it's funny for a second, but after a while it's just like, dude, I'm gonna have like fucking PTSD on this shit. You know
well,
what I mean?
I would take him being a fucking goon if, you know, he was just flat out incompetent, which he was in the first couple of years of his administration. He still tried to do some pretty rough shit. The thing is, he's already talking about starting mass deportations on day one.
It's gonna get fucking crazy.
Which is like, and nobody has still sat down and been like, how are we gonna implement this?
Yeah, no, I mean, the problem is their eyes are bigger than their stomach on that shit. You know what I mean? They're gonna run into all kinds of problems, you know, trying to make a lot of that shit happen. Some of it they might get done. It's gonna be shitty and terrible, no doubt about it. But you know, it's like,
I know Trump's gonna hit us for revenge when he comes in, but I'm never fucking leaving New York. If I ever leave New York, it's because I'm moving to another fucking country, and I'm saying this knowing the other states are trying. Well, do what you can, I guess.
I mean, honestly, I think back to the Bush years and how Jon Stewart essentially was like, I mean, kind of got us through it, or at least got me through it. You know, it's like I watch that shit every night. You know, and it was always, and we would watch it with my friends, and we, you know, the Colbert Report was very important. And then when Obama came, Stewart, you know, it wasn't as, you know, because generally he agreed with Obama, you know, and so as much as, you know, and then he retired, and it was like, and it's been really great having him back. Like I watch the shit whenever I can. I watch it on YouTube because I don't really typically I don't catch it live. I don't catch anything live anymore.
Yeah.
But and you know, it's like, I don't know, man. We're just gonna have to deal. I was really, really pissed off. You know, the first time when Clinton lost, I was really upset by that, and because I just thought like, there's just no way we're going back to this shit. Like we just came through Obama. It's gonna be Clinton, and that's gonna be it. And then it was like, oh no, the knuckle draggers they've dragged us back into the abyss, and there may not be an escape. You know, but this time I've kind of already seen it. It's like, yeah, here we are. You know,
there's a little bit of that, like, okay, we're doing this again.
Yeah,
there is a little bit of that, but like, it's also it's accented to me, I guess, with the understanding that, you know, the things that he, you know, campaigned on this time are way worse than what he campaigned on
totally
in
worse.
2016. And you know, he's got this whole playbook, you know, to eliminate as much government obstacles as possible, which is what Project 2025 is all about.
It's true.
It's stacking everything with loyalists so that he can flawlessly implement his psychotic vision.
The thing is the problem is with this is, I think, is that it's like a frog being boiled. You got to go really slow, and I think that they're going to end up.
But they turned the heat on that. Like,
you're right,
we've been slow,
but but I mean, the shit they're talking about, some of this fucking American for American Steve Miller shit.
Oh, but I mean, it all started with Reagan when he, you know, at Make America Great Again was Reagan. You know, and even though he was, you know, pro amnesty and all of that, like. It was just...
Yeah, he raised taxes 5 times.
Yeah, I mean, but...
Over 8 years.
Then they raised taxes less and less. And then they started cutting taxes. And then, like, I mean, it's all part of the same thing. It's just at a different...
The thing is that you reach a point, and maybe we won't. Maybe the current maybe the current vibe is just too damaged. You know what I mean? But it's like McCarthyism. McCarthyism just we were all in it. You know what I mean? It took over the fucking country. You know what I mean? And then eventually the dude just went too far, and people were just like, "All right, fuck this guy." You know what I mean? And it completely undid everything. You know what I mean? It got to a point where the snake was eating its own tail, and people, as dumb as Americans can be, they could see it, and they were like, "Yeah, this is a bad idea. This was we were in on this for we were in for this for a while, but this has actually turned out really shitty."
And it's possible that can happen again. I don't. I mean, I don't know how encouraged I feel by that, especially.
Well, it's not an encouraging sentiment because it means a lot of terrible shit's gonna happen.
And,
you know what I mean?
Well, I feel like that's coming one way or another.
Yeah.
It's all just a matter of how are we going to react to that. Like another part of like the disaster. Like there are so many disastrous implications to all of this that every time I think of a new one, like let me catch up on chat before we continue.
Word.
Patriot Act, am I right? Privacy, screw you. Yeah, that was W years. 4 years of content for people like Asmongold. Yeah, well.
Who is Asmongold?
He's a YouTuber who mostly plays World of Warcraft, but also occasionally pops off with some of the worst takes you'll ever hear in politics.
Nice. I'm very old.
I should have been Trump's VP. I'd be way better than Vance. I would answer no questions. I'd just scream and throw socks at people. And when Trump inevitably dies in office, I take my throne and force a new law where you must have socks on at all times under the penalty of life in prison. And yes, this includes when you're in the shower or pool. You get a 5-second threshold when changing socks.
It just goes on like this.
But you better fucking get a sock over that filthy fucking appendage you call a foot. Also, yes, pets must wear socks. Sort it the fuck out yourselves. I'm not your dad. I'm just the man who made you have to do this. Okay.
Doesn't dude have dementia?
Pro-sock agenda. Doesn't dude have dementia?
Who are we talking about?
Probably Trump.
I mean, yeah, the dude is obviously sundowning for sure.
Read my lips. I will not raise taxes.
Yeah, dude, that's
HW.
That's why he didn't get a second term.
That's also why the Clinton years had a bit of a boom. He took credit for that shit. I mentioned a while ago that Fallout 4 should have been about McCarthyism a year or two ago.
Yeah, it's McCarthyism is a really weird thing in America because, I mean, generally America was in the tank for that shit for a while, and then it just kind of got to a point where people were just like, "Yeah, this was a bad idea." You know, we thought this was going to be cool, and it turned out not to be cool at all.
Well, I mean,
let's not do this ever again, and it worked for a while.
The Soviet Union were our allies during World War II, but their ideological predisposition was a threat to America's intention. What happened, and this is for those that don't know why America is the global superpower it is, it's because we got lucky. Well, luck in addition to the fact that we built a substantial economy on the backs of 200 years of free labor. But by the time World War II came around, we largely abstained from it. We didn't really give too much of a shit about what was happening to anyone. But by the time that we were dragged into World War II, all of the established old world superpowers had been, hurt badly by Germany and Italy and bombings and shit like that.
We did beat some ass though when we got involved.
When we got involved, we whooped some ass.
We did.
The Soviet Union
they did
a little bit more. They whooped more, but
they lost a lot of dudes. The Soviet Union they have a very different. You know what I mean?
They have a different vibe. It's like World War II.
What is the guy from Futurama? The general? What's his name? Zap Brannigan. They have a Zap Brannigan approach to warfare. It's like I sent wave upon wave of my soldiers to the killbots.
Well, because they didn't have like guns or bullets. They didn't have enough guns or bullets, so they had to just send wave. But they had the waves to send.
Yeah,
and it worked. It fucking decimated Germany. But at the end of World War II, the British Empire was strained. France was, reeling. Germany was all but, a smoldering crater. There were really only two superpowers left. And it was America and it was the Soviet Union. And, America saw this as a golden opportunity. Basically, the British Empire was like, all right, we're out of this shit. America, you can have this, X. We started taking over ostensibly all these colonies, like Israel. Israel was originally, it was a British vassal state that became an American vassal state. But, that's how, and once we started to incorporate, we decided to take imperialism in a different tact. Not quite so militaristic as prior empires, although we have military bases all over the world, but it was more of an economic thing. It was more about,
well, it's yeah, it's basically globalization is American imperialism.
Yeah, and but communism was a threat to that.
Yeah.
So if we wanted to have a permanent global superpower that would keep us, in control, we needed to make sure that none of that communism shit was gonna spread anywhere. So even though, we were in favor of a lot of, socialist or socialist adjacent policies during World War II.
Especially back then, yeah. Even into the 50s and early 60s and even into the 70s. The shit really took a nosedive when Reagan shows up.
Well, once the propaganda campaign against the Soviet Union and anyone in allegiance with them happened, it started to go down a bit. It started to nosedive. And yeah, after the malaise of the 70s and, Jimmy Carter's sketchy tenure, Ronald Reagan took advantage. He had his charisma and barnstormed in, and once Jimmy Carter got that deregulation train started, it was just off to the races, and we've never really looked back since. Like, we're still in that era.
Yeah, that's the thing that's so crazy about America. I think it's this really weird contradiction, right? Where it's like two discs, attached, you know what I'm saying, that spin separately. And as one got more liberal, one gets more conservative. So as you become socially more liberal, we have civil rights and, things get, better for, gays and whatnot, you know what I mean? Over time, things get more and more conservative with regards to economic policy. So if you go back to like the 50s, union's super powerful, you know what I mean? Taxes super high. It's much more coming off the New Deal and that kind of stuff. But of course, things are terrible for, everybody that's not like a white dude. Yeah. You know what I mean? But as that stuff got better, the other shit got worse. And it just kind of clicked like that, going in opposite directions until where we are now. You know what I mean?
I don't know why, but it does seem to operate that way. I'm drilling a bit, but I would have had Fallout 4's big reveal be that the Institute only replaced like 3 people and let the fear of replacement keep the Commonwealth unstable for them.
I only played Fallout 3.
You're a bit quiet. I gotta speak more into the mic. Sorry about that. I gotta get... You know what? I actually was gonna ask if you could bring like your interface and lav mics so I can try that setup again.
I gave that interface to, I would say loaned, but it's more I gave that interface to Shay over at Tequila. I have another one, you know what I mean? But I have to keep this one because it's my only mobile interface.
Do we both sound better here? I think I can hear myself better like this, but does Justin still sound good?
It's weird because I can look down and see us in the past.
Us in the present and us in the past.
Yeah, it's really weird. But I don't know, man. It's gonna be shitty.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's nothing we can fucking do about it now. I mean, it's like, I think that's another thing that's probably frustrating on some level for Americans, especially Americans on the left, is that there's really only so much you can fucking do. It's especially if you're not in a swing state. Your vote is generally, you know what I mean? It's at least if like you're in California, you feel like I am part of a righteous collective here. But in Texas, it's I am pissing into the wind.
It's the same. I mean, I'm sure Republicans in California feel the same way.
Yeah, I mean, fuck those guys.
But what I'm just saying, like that's this is a part of like when we were talking about, the issues that Harris should campaign on. Yes, all of those things, but also campaign in Missouri.
Electoral college.
Yeah, campaign in Missouri. Campaign and you could go out into all these other places with these policies that people want and make some inroads there. Like you don't have to, maybe going to Idaho isn't going to net you much, but
But I mean, here's the
If
thing:
you could get a piece here, get a piece there, make people defend their land, then maybe
Democrats are always on defensive to some degree. I don't mean like simply politically, but just in their agendas. You know what I mean? It's like they're reactive instead of proactive. A lot of times, it's like whatever the wacky shit Republicans come up with, we're gonna counter that, and this is why we're different and better.
That's why things have gotten significantly worse over time.
For sure. But it's like, to me, maybe they should take a little bit out of the FDR and be like, hey, here's the thing. Elect me. Electoral college is done. We'll never ever lose an election again. Well, I mean, unless the Republicans are just really popular like they were this time.
Yeah, they would have Trump would have won this election without the electoral college.
Well, the electoral college is bullshit, and it should be gone. And Democrats should just make that part of their, because even if they lose, it's only if the electoral college is gone and Democrats lose, that's their own damn fault. You know what I mean? And it's like they just did not appeal to people. So they should make that part of their platform. Electoral college, bye-bye. Mm-hmm. National health care, goodbye electoral college. Supreme Court, well, we kind of think Republicans have cheated and fucked shit up. It's been 9. It doesn't have to be 9. We're going to make it 13. I'm going to put, like, I don't know, Hassan Abi and...
you don't even have to. Dude. You put Hassan in the Supreme Court, you're going to get, like, a fucking...
But that's my point. Is like they should just have some shit where people are like, "Holy shit!" That's a platform.
Here's my controversial take: you don't have to say any of that shit. Just do it. Like, campaign on all the other good stuff, but like once you get in, do that stuff. But then also, boom, electoral college is gone. Yeah, we know you guys don't like it.
If anyone brings it up, you should be like, "Hey, we're not fucking around."
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys thought we won the election. We fucking won. We're gonna do some shit.
I was under the impression politics was a blood sport.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
we're doing blood sport shit here.
I was there when Mitch McConnell basically just
Kumite.
When Mitch McConnell took the Constitution and was like, "Oh yeah,
yeah, man,
he's the president now. Fuck off."
They stole Supreme Court seats from Obama, and they literally went out and was like, our mandate is to make sure Obama doesn't get anything done. And I was like,
yeah, he just straight up Ned Starked him, because that's to me that's like one of the most pivotal moments in all of Game of Thrones is when Ned Stark is like, well, these are the king's words, and she's like, give me that. He's the king now. Fuck off. Yes. You know what I mean? And it was like, what?
When you play the Game of Thrones, you win or you die.
It's like she wasn't fucking around. She was there to win, and Ned thought that there was some kind of weird.
He was a lib
institution that was going to protect him. There are no institutions.
There are no institutions. You know what I mean? It's
the coast is never clear.
Yes. That's my mentality. That's the Machiavellianism that I wish that more progressives had. Is like, lie if you have to obtain power, and then when you get there, do blood sport. That's like, I'm at that point now. Like,
only 5 times did the loser of the popular vote lose the electoral college vote anyway. I don't know, dude. 5 out of 47, that's enough to piss me off. Plus, I think, honestly, we probably need to start counting.
How many of those 5 were...
in the last,
we're Democrats.
50 years.
Of the past, the past, me, 20 years or so.
The
30 years.
The last,
30 years,
maybe 30 years is better, but you can't really look at shit before the internet and before all that, before mass media, television, and compare it to now. We have to pretty much look at the last 50 years, which is only I don't know.
I'm not high. It feels morally wrong. Yeah, America can't make up its ideology. Well, aside from capitalism. Missouri, Trump only got 58.5, which seems low for a Republican candidate.
I don't know.
That seems pretty high to me.
Okay, I have another bone to pick with reality in this regard. Doesn't it seem fucking weird that it's always almost evenly split? You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck is that about?
Polarization.
That to me is fucking weird. But no,
polarization, tribalism.
Exactly. Because the thing is that think about it. If we just kind of go into data science for a second, right? For a body to separate itself almost into exactly equal proportions. And we're talking in 2016, it came down to 8,000 votes across 3 states. You know what I mean? It's almost, and granted, that was electoral college shit. She actually won 3 million more votes, and then Biden won 7 million more votes. But it's still fucking 45-52 or 47-51 or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? You know.
Well, I mean, that's just a function of the.
But nothing else is like that.
I don't know. I would have to look it up because I feel like that's a function of just the dichotomy, right? Like.
Yeah, but my point is that maybe
because it wasn't that way in '92.
Well, it wasn't that way going back a long time.
It wasn't that, but that's because '92 was the last time that you had multiple viable candidates. Well, I guess popular vote wise viable, not really viable electorally.
Yeah.
I don't think any of them won electoral college vote, but you still had like guys like fucking Perot and shit that were. You know, pulling substantial numbers. We don't really have any.
It's kind of like the first populist, you know. Well, not the first,
but in the modern
era, you know what I mean.
Modern
he was the
context.
one that was like, "There's pay dirt here."
Yeah.
But it's no. Think about it. If I took 100 people and I said, "How many of you people here raise your hand if you like Outback Steakhouse?" It's not going to be 50-50. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be like 70-30.
Don't say no because you're phrasing it wrong. What you do is you say. You take 100 people and you go Coke or Pepsi. And
I think that it's still like 70-30 or 80-20.
I think it'll probably suss itself out. Well, maybe not Coke and Pepsi. I don't know. I'd have to see. But I think it would probably suss itself out to somewhere around maybe 55, 45, maybe 60, 60-40 at the most.
Pepsi example because there's a narrative there. And like the idea that, well, you know, you've heard the old thing of like, I'm an Elvis man or I'm a Beatles man. There's a certain people look at things very
product. It's all product, which is what politics is. It's retail politics.
My point, though. Do we, as the electorate, do we shuffle ourselves into almost equal 50-50 things, 50-50 groups? Because there's just this sense, like imagine. Because there's a lot of people that you will meet that are just contrarians. Yes. There's lots of people in the game industry like that. You know what I mean? You're like, everyone's like, you know, I really think that Star Wars is the greatest movie ever. And this one goes, well, actually, Star Wars was actually a piece of shit. And, you know, really when you get down to it.
There's a lot of that.
Yeah. So my question is do we organize ourselves somehow, like unbeknownst to ourselves, like it's one of these things that we do almost subconsciously, into almost equal groups? Like, are there people that when they think, oh, this Kamala has a lot of, she has a lot of panache and energy. I'm liking the way this is going. And all of a sudden it's like, you know, the polls start to head in her way and she's like, no, I don't know. I kind of feel like maybe she's a little overrated.
You mean from the same guy?
Maybe, yeah, from the same guy. It's just, you know, but imagine it happening writ large over a large subset of the electorate that is malleable, you know, because obviously there are people in Trump hats and people with fucking Che Guevara stickers on their back windshield that are never ever gonna cast about. But my point is that like
you know what?
Strange that we always come down to within a few percentage points. And it's a modern thing, starting probably in the 80s and no, not even the 80s. So 90. So 92 going forward. Because I mean, Mondale lost by a shit ton. Like Reagan won by like 60% or something crazy.
Let me see. Let's track some.
Street corner Becky is Pepsi. I'm sorry, dude. That's a Midwest thing. Are you from St. Louis?
Yes, he is.
See, that's the thing. My wife is from Kansas City and she's Pepsi, but I'm from Texas and it's like, Pepsi what? Like, everything is Coke. In fact, the name of a soft drink in Texas is Coke. It'd be like, do you want a Coke? Yeah, sure. Which one do you want? Dr. Pepper. You know what I mean? It's
yeah, there's no pop down here.
Yeah, we don't do soda. We don't do pop. We do Coke.
I say soda, but everybody else says Coke.
Yeah.
I'm not even from the soda part of the country.
Well, I think that like maybe starting with probably late millennials a little bit more and into Gen Z, they're a little bit more agnostic. But I'm Gen X and like growing up, there was just Coke. You know, you'd be like, you guys want Cokes? It's like, yeah, sure. Which one? What do you want? I'll have a 7-Up. You know what I mean?
The Democrats have one final trick up their sleeve, though, deciding which minority group to blame for all this. They're tired of blaming all black people, particularly men, all Hispanics, and all Arab people. That's really weird when they started popping off against black dudes, especially since like the black vote was the same as it was under Biden. I don't know why they thought that was going to be a good idea. Like, hey, let's get Obama out here to start scolding black people.
I mean, do you think they told him that? Hey, Obama, go give it to the black guys.
Yeah, I think they
need
did.
the business.
I think they did.
You think that's why they got Obama? They were like, I'm afraid these black guys are going to let us down. We need to get someone that can really speak to black guys.
I literally think that's it.
I know a black guy.
Missouri
it's
has
Barack.
Missouri has Kansas City, Columbia University, and University of Missouri, and St. Louis, where the majority of the Democrats in the state live. Most of the rest of the state votes red.
Same thing as Texas.
It splits because those 3 cities represent a large portion of the state's population. Yo, Jay Moi, welcome back to the stream. Hello again. I'm glad you are talking about this. I'm very sorry about this result. I feel your pain. Regarding the 50-50 question, isn't that just the consequence of the two-party system? That's what I was saying earlier.
But no, but 50-50? Yeah, there are 2 parties, but why would we
because
come to an exact half? Nothing in life is like that. You know what I mean?
I feel like
within a few points,
I feel like
the entire country. It's a subset of like.
I
it's
bet
a
you
data
if
set
we,
of 370 million.
I
people.
bet you if we looked at the peak of who owned a Sega Genesis and who owned a Super Nintendo, it would probably be.
It's not
50-50.
It's not.
I feel like it would.
Super Nintendo was more popular than Genesis.
Yeah, but it probably was like more popular in the order of like Obama McCain 52 to 45. I feel like it would have been like that. Like yes, it's more evident.
Yeah,
it's more
but
popular.
Still, 52 to 45 is still fucking close.
That's what I'm saying. But this is why. Okay,
go back to Reagan Mondale.
Well, this is why I brought this up. Hold on, let me finish these. By the way, Jay Moi, I think you are from Austria.
Oh, nice.
Austria,
Austria's beautiful.
About to move to the Netherlands, I believe.
Oh, I'm not sure. I was going to say even better, but I don't think it is.
I believe, if I recall correctly. Last time before 2000 was 1888 when Benjamin Harrison beat Grover Cleveland, which is ironic because Cleveland would have served 3 consecutive terms instead of the non-consecutive terms. I've never heard of a single fellow North person say pop. We have been hunting them down to cull the taint of people saying pop.
I was in Ohio in the 80s on vacation, and everyone said pop, and I was like, okay, my brain's breaking.
I was certain pop was a northern thing for sure.
I think it might be like a Midwest,
Is it
northern
a
Midwest,
Rust Belt kind of thing?
Maybe a Rust Belt. You have been watching a lot of politics.
Oh, I probably have been, but I've been using Rust Belt to describe that general area for years at this point. Yo, Lynn, welcome back to the stream. How you doing tonight? Barks Root Beer versus Muggs Root Beer. I feel like that would also be.
Give me names. I don't remember those kids' names, but it did blow my mind. Okay.
Because it's pushed as an identity, I think. I'm assuming you're referring to
the 50-50 split.
50-50 split.
I think it's weird. My question is that it's like, is it the tail wagging the dog or the dog wagging the tail? Like, I'm not sure. It's just weird to me. This has been something I've thought about for a while. You know what I mean? It's like, why wouldn't
May
Obama...
Allah awaken the people and help them to see the evil doings of Israel and the United States.
What's up, Taco? Welcome back to the stream. That's one of my favorite sound bits there.
Oh, nice. What was I going to say? Go up on the chat real quick. I was going to say something about one of these things.
Were you going to talk about the identity part?
No, go up.
Muggs Root Beer?
Barks versus Barks? Versus Mug. Mug isn't, I mean, that's not even a thing down here at all.
Pop?
I've heard of Mug, but...
Grover
Cleveland? Oh, I know what I was going to say. All right, the guy from the St. Louis, Street Corner Becky.
Yes.
Do you see the Explore St. Louis commercials in St. Louis?
I fucking knew we missed some pop fuckers. Give me names. I've always said soda. At Justin, interesting reaction. Not to derail too much, but what makes you say this? I guess that's about Austria.
No, I wasn't saying one was better than the other. I was just saying that I was going to say the Netherlands was nicer than Austria just because you were moving there. And I was like, oh, even better. But then I was like, is it better? I don't really know because I've never been.
Have you been to Austria?
I've never been to either one, but I knew a friend that went to Austria and he loved it. And then I watched a YouTube thing of a guy who was like in Austria looking at, like, he was in a city and he was looking at like there were like open air markets and he was looking for old records.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, wherever this guy is, looks unbelievable. So yeah, there wasn't actually an attempt to make a value judgment on either place. I've only been to England and France. I went to France.
Hey, dude, did not enjoy the election outcome. Yeah. Yo, what's up, Fargo
Neither
Retro?
did we.
Well, welcome back to the stream. Yeah, not a fan of
We
the
did
outcome
it, boys.
myself.
We saved the city. Oh, I was gonna say, Street Corner Becky. I composed the music in those commercials.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, the company I work for is based in St. Louis, and so I do a lot of I mix and I compose on a lot of St. Louis commercials.
Okay, I thought you had some dirt on the Netherlands.
Oh no, not at all, not at all.
All right, you wanted me to go back to?
Yeah. Let's look at Reagan Mondale.
Shit, what year was that?
It's gonna be 84. Dude, I still remember being in the second grade, and I was all in the tank for Reagan. Because I didn't, he seemed like America, and I didn't.
Why did that just make me think of The Simpsons, where Homer has that Haig or whatever that? What was that guy's name? Haig? Hold on.
Oh no, Ayatollah Asahola shirt.
No.
Oh.
Oh man, what was that guy's name?
Well, what's the episode?
I can't remember.
Oh.
What was that guy's name? Is Haig?
Dude.
Hold on.
I think
it was.
I'm like up to season 12. I'm in a Simpsons encyclopedia. After that, I fall off.
Haig. Okay, I think it was
Jerry Lewis, who was president in 1985.
Did he not? Okay, I can't even remember. I thought he had a shirt that said something about Haig.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
Maybe I'm the only person that remembers.
I do
that.
remember the Ayatollah Asahola shirt from when they have the flea market sale.
Anyways, 84 election. Oh, well, this is the landslide election.
Boom! So that's what I'm talking about. But this should be more, theoretically, this kind of shit should be more common. You know what I mean?
The fuck? Why isn't it telling us? I guess were they not?
It broke the scale.
They weren't keeping track of the popular vote.
Oh, they were.
I don't see it anywhere on here.
It wasn't the Stone Age. 58% of the popular vote.
Oh, where is that at? Oh, 50.
But that was only in Minnesota. And Mondale's home state of Minnesota won 50% of the popular vote and defeated Mondale. Yeah, popular. So almost 60%. Now that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Since Nixon to win
almost 60%. Okay, that kind of is just outside the boundaries of what we're used to.
But my point is that it seems like as media has become more prevalent, you know what I mean? Like they say the first person since Nixon, and I imagine it probably happened pretty frequently in the years. Like obviously FDR kicked the shit out of whoever came up against him.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And 88, Dukakis versus W or HW.
I mean, that's not a huge margin. At that point, we're essentially, was that 50? I can't see. I'm blind. 50 to 45?
53 to 45.
Okay. Yeah, it seems like at a certain point, we just kind of taper off into this weird, two sides thing. And I find it very strange that a country could be so evenly divided. You know what I mean? That it's very weird to me.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were to poll, and we'll ask the chat about this. If you were to poll Star Trek fans, Next Generation or TOS, do you think it would come out 50-50? I imagine it would not.
I wonder if this happens to have been done before. This probably has. Yeah, that has the whole.
Yeah.
I just want those two.
There's only really 2 Star Trek shows. I don't know. I'm sure there were probably great episodes in the other shows. I just didn't watch it.
Yeah, but that IMDb poll, I think, is all of them.
Yeah.
So that's not even.
I mean, although I can't imagine. I mean, all of it has the new ones. That would probably. Someone just said, "What the fuck?"
TNG.
The snow is getting wild. Is it snowing where you are?
Oh, Taco. Yeah, she's in Colorado.
Oh, awesome. I wish I was in Colorado where it's snowing. Snow is awesome. When you're in Texas, I guess.
Yeah, this is like the
I mean,
three-way
you
race.
got to group Deep Space Nine with Next Generation. They're kind of the same show. I mean, they're not the same show, but they're way closer to being the same show.
Yeah, they're closer than Star Trek.
And if you look at the total, my point is, if you look at all that and you group Deep Space Nine and Next Generation as one show, it's not fucking 50-50. It's complete. It's much more lopsided. I just think it's weird that we somehow clairvoyantly group ourselves into almost perfect groups, like almost perfect. Like you give us a dichotomy, right? And it's like we will literally fill those Venn circles.
I'm sure there's some psychology behind that.
Yeah, that's my point. I guess that's my point. Is that I'm sure there probably is. I'd be interested in what there was, what data there was on that, because it just kind of seems that
some dumb guy googling. Why do people self-group into two groups?
I like
that even makes sense.
Kind of moved off of into the bigger picture.
You know what? I gotta go calm down this barking dog. I'll be back in a second too. Hold tight, y'all. All right.
I don't know. I really enjoy the original series, but it's not as, I mean, it's old to me, but it's not as old because I remember watching it in the early 80s and stuff when it was really only about 12 years old. Yeah.
Sports betting passed, but narrowly.
Yay, I guess. I don't know.
I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Well, okay. So we've hit on a lot of stuff. I mean, I think we're generally. So what do you think happens in the next, like, let's say 2 years? Because Democrats have a chance to. They've lost everything.
Well,
That's
I don't
the thing
know.
that's so crazy
I don't know
is
if the
that-
House has been called yet.
Well, I mean, they're way behind. They need 28 seats to overcome, and the Republicans only need 15.
Oh, I thought it was closer than that.
Well, last time I looked, I'll look again.
But are you asking me what I think happens in terms of like?
Yeah, what do you think happens? We'll talk about what do you think they should do next time. But let's talk about what do you think Trump does? What do you think happens in the next 2 years before the Democrats have a chance to fuck everything up?
I mean, I can't even begin to speculate on what I think Trump might do. We know what he wants to do.
Democrats need 22 seats. Republicans need 12.
I don't know what the numbers look like as far as like what the races are. But what I last heard though is that there was a possibility. Like if the Republicans do win, then the majority is going to be incredibly slim. The thing is, you're just going to have to find. You're going to have to find moderate Republicans, if those even exist anymore, willing to caucus with or side with Dems on votes to like block things. So, but I don't know. I don't even know. I can't even begin to speculate on what Trump will do, and it's also just a matter of what the courts will allow him to do, because I'm sure everything he does is going to get challenged in a court. I don't know. I mean, who fucking knows? In terms, I mean, and for those 2 years, then we have the
They
midterms.
have filled the courts though with a shit ton of ideologues. Though
They have, but sometimes those ideologues don't always side their way. They have some rogue judges every now and then. Yo, Genetic Memory Farms, welcome back to the stream. It's been a while. Lol, love the title of this stream. Election debris. Hispanic males and white women broke hard for the right. I mean, white women always do. But, yeah, the Hispanic males. The Hispanic male thing was a shock to a lot of people, but it shouldn't have been a shock to anybody in Texas. Like,
why is that?
Because fucking Latino dudes in Texas are pretty fucking conservative.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been that way for a while. Like, it's only recently started to trend that way outside of Texas, like in the past couple years. And I feel like that's a function of like, the Democrats just, abandoning them. Like a big part of Bernie's 2020 campaign was, Latino outreach. And he was making strides there. But then once, he bailed, the Democrats never picked that back up. And that's just, and then when you combine that with, I mean, there's nothing unique. And this is the annoying thing about having discourse around identity. There's nothing unique to a Hispanic person or a black person that makes like their need for food different than a white person's need for food. So all of those material needs are still the same. So of course, like, when something affects an economy, people will react to it a different way. The only reason why I think, and this is just pure speculation on my part, only reason why I think the Hispanic populace responds to it a little bit different than, like, say, the black population, where once again our numbers didn't really change, is because there is a ingrained history of, what conservatism and Republican means to black Americans, that doesn't quite exist the same way with the Latino community. In addition to the fact that, a lot of fucking Latinos identify as white, that's just the way that it is. They could be a part of the in group if they,
the in group
button down and work hard enough, and they'll be in there. So they have that kind of allegiance every now and then. Black people are never going to be white. That's just not going to be a thing. There's never going to be white exist as a counterbalance to black. Before that, it was just Europeans. So like, there's never going to be an instance where, you know, black people are going to be part of the in group of white people, because that in group exists specifically to exclude black people. But you've seen other people be included. Like they used to not think of Italians or Germans as white people. You know, Benjamin Franklin has like this famous screed where he talks about the what do you call them? The swarmy non-whites of Germany. You know,
of Germany?
Oh, dude, let me see if I can find it.
How are the people of Britain more white than the people of Germany?
I wish I could remember the word he used. Swarthy is the word he used. Yes.
Swarthy Germans.
Swarthy Germans. Yes. Ben Franklin's thoughts on the horrors of the U.S. being overrun by German immigrants. Why should the Palatine Boers be suffered to swarm into our settlements, and by herding together establish their language and manners to the exclusion of ours? Why should Pennsylvania, founded by the English, become a colony of aliens who will shortly be so numerous as to Germanize us instead of our anglifying them, and will never adopt our language and customs any more than they can acquire our complexion?
The Germans?
The Germans.
What's so fucking crazy is England is white because of Germany.
This doesn't matter to a fucking white supremacist.
Anglo-Saxons and Jutes conquered England.
Yeah, I know.
Before that, it was all Gauls. You know what I mean? It was, and Gauls are essentially white, but they're not as white, quote unquote. They're not the blonde-haired, blue eyes, freckled-faced dudes that start showing up in the latter half of the first millennia. You know what I mean? It's generally people with brown hair and brown eyes. You know what I mean? You're Paul McCartney looking dudes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know? It's like, you know, you're Romano-British. Generally all look like Paul McCartney. I'm sure they fucking had great tunes. You know? That's wild.
Yeah. Well,
it just goes to show you the fucking ridiculousness of racism.
No,
it's just
I mean,
fucking so stupid.
Yeah.
It's like Louis C.K. has this bit where he's like talking about, he's like, well, the racism, he's like, I think we'll get over that. Because it's just fucking stupid. You know, it's just fucking dumb. He's like, but sexism, he's like, that isn't going anywhere. He's like, because that is deeply ingrained. You know
but
what I
you
mean?
see, and this is a part of like a lot of people, and I kind of subscribe to this belief, that what we're witnessing right now with Trumpism, all that, it's the anguished last throes of conventional racism. And this is
how it is you voted for Donald Trump when you're so into facts, because I want to know how it is you voted for Donald Trump when you're so into facts, because his entire campaign is not based in facts. It was all based in propaganda and emotion.
I voted for Donald Trump for one reason only. His policies, if implemented, would slow the dispossession of whites in the United States. If he were to deport all illegal immigrants, if he were to think very hard about letting in any Muslims, all of this would slow the rate at which whites are becoming a minority.
Why are you so worried about the white dispossession of America?
Because I want my people to survive.
Great.
Is that so strange? We don't control China. We don't control any place where whites are not a majority. And if we become a minority, we will not control our own destiny anymore.
I grew up in this country as a minority, as the children of immigrants. I was their first child born in America. And while I didn't have much possession or didn't much control, I really enjoyed myself. And I think that if you ask a lot of Americans, they would say that I had a lot to offer this country. You know, according to you, I guess I would be perpetuating the dispossession of white America.
That is true. That is true.
Would you say that you wouldn't want me in this country?
At some point, when my ancestors built this nation, they did not build it with the intention of giving it away to Mexicans or Chinese or Haitians or to anyone else.
Do you consider, you keep saying your ancestors...
Sadly, apparently, that guy is right about that. Because Fucking Benjamin Franklin didn't want to give it away to Germans.
Yeah, he was looking at Germans like, I don't know about those swarthy
what
fucking
the fuck?
colored,
Crazy.
those colored people in Germany.
Actually, a complete side note. We can return to this. So we went to Washington D.C. Like me and Aaron and Juniper and then Zach and his family. We went to Washington D.C. and we did the whole thing. We attacked the Capitol. We wanted to see it before,
Wait, did you just say you attacked the Capitol?
No, we went to the Capitol.
Oh, okay.
I said we did the whole thing. The Capitol.
Okay.
The Capitol, saw the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, saw all the stuff, went to all the places, did all the things. But we went to Mount Vernon. You know what I mean? And like, dude, I had no idea how many slaves George Washington had.
Oh, yeah, he had a fuck ton of slaves.
Zach and I mean, we were all so deeply disturbed. The Juniper, of course, is a completely, she was just like, why are we here? She's like, why are we celebrating? Why is all this stuff here? He seems like a huge asshole. And we're like, ooh. And Zach was like, dude, I mean, he was just slaving it the fuck up. He had like 370 slaves. And to give you an example, I mean, I know a lot about history, right? I thought he had like 12. I thought he had 12. Zach was like, I thought he had like 6. You know what I mean? And I was like, no, dude. And Zach was like, no, 370. And then they're like, well, he freed his slaves upon his death. Upon his death. But what's fucking crazy is he, the way it was worded, he only freed his slaves. His wife's slaves, equally half of the 370, were not free. And there were some like married couples that were like, well, actually, you belong to his wife. You're going to stay here. But you... Can you close that door for me? Sure. You are free to go. And they're like, yeah. What the fuck it was very disturbing. And then they tell you this, and then they give you a walkthrough of the house, and you get to see like what he did all day when he wasn't out there being a general. Yeah. And what he did all day was he had breakfast, and then he had like a little pre-lunch maybe, and then he had lunch. Living a Hobbit style. Yeah. And then he had lunch, and then he worked in his study for a while, just kind of hanging out, writing. He, just inventing stuff. He had some designs, but he wasn't like really working on anything. He just kind of hung out. Just an idea guy. Yeah, just like, it'd be cool. Meanwhile, slaves are cooking all the food. They're bringing him shit. And they had dinner at like fucking 3. And dinner lasted like 3 hours. Oh. And then he retired, but they were like, a lot of times they might get hungry again. And so they, everyone had to be on call to bring food to anyone who was staying here until like 10 o'clock at night. You know what I mean? So they would eat again like between 7 and 10. It was fucking wild. We were just like, That is a lavish lifestyle. Wow. Provided by 300 some odd slaves. Yeah, dude, it was pretty fucked up. Anyway, back to what the founders of the nation were trying to achieve. Let me catch up on chat real quick. Yeah. He'll stack the courts. He will face little resistance. Hello, ye old nerdcast. Yo, what's up, hello. Diego? Welcome back to the stream. Guess what? Wait, who is he? This is Justin. Oh, Justin. You've seen him before. You should know. I'm Latino. Will never pass as white. Lol. Oh, I could see that being a mindset. Now thinking about it. Let's see. Well, the best we could hope for is that eventually Gen Z and millennials decide to vote in large numbers. This election, Gen Z and millennials largely did not. Well, Democrats got to give them a reason to come out. Is that true? Gen Z and millennials didn't vote? A lot of people didn't vote. A lot of people were just like, fuck it. I just don't understand. That I don't understand. I mean, a lot of people aren't dialed in. Like, they'll vote if, they hear about something that they like. But if they don't hear about something they like, they just won't pay much attention. They'll be like, oh, okay, whatever. No, I didn't vote in 2000, but I lived in California, and I couldn't vote there because I was from Texas and I hadn't set it up. Can I have that link? Yeah. Continue. I'm sorry. But if I lived in a swing state, I would have probably really figured out how to make it happen because I was pretty fucking pissed when Bush won in 2000. I remember, like, I went out on my balcony. I lived in, like, North Hollywood. I went out on my balcony, and it's just, like, a sea of other apartments and balconies all over the North Hollywood. And I was like, it's going to be a rough 4 years. And then some distant voice goes, you got that right?
That's Simpson shit.
Oh, it was fucking great.
That's funny. Like, in 2000, I wasn't paying attention to politics at all. And I just moved to Austin after graduating high school from Oklahoma. Back then, I considered myself to be something more of a conservative.
Really?
Yeah. So, like, I thought that the idea, because, you know, all I knew of George W. was, you know, son of H.W. He wanted to do...
No Child Left Behind?
No, because, like, the big debate between him and...
He was a compassionate conservative in 2000.
It was that, like, the big debate between him and Al Gore was what to do, and this should have been, like, the first kind of, you know, clue, was what to do with the surplus budget, you know, and you know, Al Gore wanted to put it in a lockbox, but George W. wanted to do tax cuts. Yeah. And in my mind, I was like, well, you know, it's a surplus budget. It's basically house money. You know, we should cut taxes. That'd be good. It'd be good for the people. It'd be good for the economy, etc. Blah, blah, blah. You know, I had a very, like, you know, traditional conservative mindset about it. So, and it was cool to me that, like, I was moving to a city that, you know, the future president, you know, lived in and shit, because he was still here at the time. You know, and I moved down here, and, you know, people fucking hate his guts, of course. And that was like a new thing to me. I was like, oh, they fucking hate his ass down here. But, like, my eventual...
You're from a military family too, though, right?
Yeah. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, though, because we never talked politics at home. I think it was probably just being a child of the 80s.
Yeah, just being a child in general.
Just the Djangoism of, you know, the G.I. Joe era.
Yeah, like
Top
when I was
Gun.
in second grade, I was all about Reagan, and Mondale, I didn't like the way his name sounded. But it's funny... I kind of turned into politics, started tuning in in 92, because in 92 I would have been, let's see, I would have been 13, 87 I was 10, so I would have been 13 in 90, I would have been 15, so yeah, it makes sense. I was 15, and my dad was he was a Perot supporter. He hated Republicans. But he was like...
That's the important part.
You know, hilariously, I mean, you know, some of what Perot was saying about NAFTA and shit back in the day turned out to be true.
No, of course, yeah. That's why he gave Bernie Sanders a giant epic golden sword.
Oh, he did?
Oh, yeah, it fucking looks sweet as shit,
I didn't know he did that.
Yeah, hold on, let me see.
Yeah, my dad was a big Perot supporter back in the day. But my mom voted for Clinton, and I thought Perot was cool. I thought it was okay, but I thought Clinton was pretty cool, too. And gifted a sword to Bernie Sanders. Wow.
Look at that thing. That looks cool as shit, man.
I had no idea that Perot was a Sanders supporter.
Presented to I mean, this is a little bit more than a fucking supporter. This is
yeah, I would say. Holy shit.
Presented to Congress Bernie Sanders with deep appreciation for your many years of extraordinary leadership to provide a proper medical treatment to our military forces who are wounded by chemical weapons in Desert Storm and develop proper vaccines to protect our troops in the future. You have lived these words throughout the 10-year order. You could easily judge the character of a man by how he treats those who can do nothing for him. And the words of Winston Churchill's shortest speech, never give in, never give in, never, never, never. Thanks to your leadership, courage, and resolve, these wounded soldiers are now receiving proper treatment and disability payments and research and continuing how to protect our troops from these chemical and biological weapons of the future. And look at that fucking engraving. I can't zoom in on this, but look at the engraving on that blade.
Yeah.
This is a wicked ass sword.
We got some questions.
Did he have I wonder if he just had it. Like, did Ross Perot just have this?
I probably had it made. So it's funny. Zach used to work at Perot Systems, and I went up there one time to meet them or whatever. And dude, there was like pro-America stuff everywhere.
Really?
Fucking Eagles, like USA, you know, it's like, I don't know like what his politics were exactly. And he was very pro-America. I know that, you know what I mean? Obviously. But, you know, he was like, it was very populist. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he was kind of, I think he was probably more on the order of being like a libertarian socialist.
Yeah, it was very muddled. It was, you know, it was a combination of a lot of things. But it's funny because my dad is like super liberal now. I mean, he was liberal back then, but it wasn't, you know, it was weird. It wasn't so cut and dried in like 1992 is on some level. But that's the first election that I really paid attention to, you know what I mean? And then in 94, the Republicans fucking just cleaned house, dude. And that's when Newt Gingrich shows up and they had their contract with America. Now, I remember very distinctly being at a restaurant with my dad and my brother. My parents were divorced. And so Wednesday nights was the night we would go to dinner with my dad. He would come pick us up and take us out to dinner. Voting was on Tuesday. So on Wednesday, the word was out. You know, Republicans were in. And so we went to dinner that night. I remember it was a place called On the Border. And we were just talking about it. And we were just like, God damn it, you know. But yeah, so I was pretty plugged in. And by the time I get to like 2000, most of my political views are generally are very similar. I obviously there's some issues that I've you know rotated on to some degree, but generally by the time I'm watching the Daily Show, you know what I mean, I'm not radical. I'm generally right in the same lane as I was back in the day. You know what I mean?
I'm white and I've never once in my life looked at other white people and said, my people. Well, I mean, that means you're not, you know, a white supremacist. And I'm huge into genealogy. Okay, well, maybe I spoke too soon. I'm joking, Vince. I'm joking. Genealogy is actually interesting, but there is a line between that, like being interested in that and crossing over into like fucking eugenics and shit. I'm not white, but I haven't really looked at my people as my people either. There's only one people, humans. Well, I mean, you have to understand that, like, you know, a lot of this shit comes up from, you know, cultural divides. And the easiest marker of, you know, someone's culture is, you know, their skin, how they look. It doesn't necessarily, I'm not necessarily saying that as a good or bad thing. It's just that for people who have a reactionary mindset and negatively respond to, you know, things that are different, or I guess what they might feel is threatening to what their preferred level of comfort is, which is familiarity. You know, that guy looks like me. I'm comfortable with that. That guy does look like me. That's scary. Then, you know, that creates an environment for, you know, animus and hostility and whatnot that usually gets expressed through other cultural touchstones, like, you know, they do this weird thing that we don't do. They celebrate this holiday, etc., etc.
I think it's a very people thing.
But I think that it's important to recognize the differences in people. Like, I don't like. It's kind of like it kind of touches on that classic Stephen Colbert bit where he's like, it's like, I don't see color. People tell me I'm white, and I believe them because I have a stockpile of mayonnaise, and he says shit like that. You know, like that whole I don't see color thing. The idea behind that bit was the I guess both the insanity of saying it, but also the hypocrisy behind it, where it's like there's a privilege to, you know, being able to say, well, this doesn't exist in my life, in my worldview.
Yeah, it's like what's his name from the Daily Show? He's not on there anymore.
Rob Riggle?
No.
Ron, what's his name? Corddry. Rob Corddry.
No.
Does it start with an R?
Maybe it doesn't.
Because those are the only R's.
He was on there. He was one of my favorite guys on there recently. He left. He's a black dude. What's his name? A comedian as well.
Wyatt?
No, not Wyatt Cenac.
Who the fuck are you talking about?
He's really, really funny. He has a bit.
Ron Wood Jr.?
Yes.
Roy Wood Jr.
Okay, I was close. He has a bit about,
I didn't even know I knew that many Daily Show people. I was just rattling them off.
Yeah, Wyatt Cenac. Roy Wood Jr. has a bit about going in and wanting a receipt at Best Buy. He's like, give me a receipt. And he's like, I need to leave here with the fucking receipt. And they're like, why? I'll just throw it away. He's like, no. I need you to put it on the bag and staple it on the bag. And, you know, he's like, that's the thing that I have to deal with. He's like, you know, the guy to give me the receipt doesn't have a, he's like, why would you want a receipt? He's like, believe me, I need the receipt. Give me the receipt, you know? I think that, like, yeah, there's just things that, But I think that like the thing that you read about what's his face in the Germans, it just goes to show you that that's like a weird part of the human condition. It just seems that like given any delineation whatsoever, people will just start trying to divide it up into like, well, you know, they're not as white as I am, or they're not as freckled as I am, or they're freckled in a certain different way. I mean, it's like if you go to like in China, right? You know, the Mandarin, they hate the Cantonese. Fucking hate them. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's a huge divide. And it's like, what? You know, when you hear about it, you're like, I don't, but super important over there. You know what I mean? He's all hung up on fucking Germans. It's like so fucking ridiculous that we was like, what? You mean like the Nazi German guys that would later go on to, you know, wreak havoc all over the world in the name of racism? Those guys aren't white enough for you? You know, it's like, it's fucking dumb.
Yeah, I mean, Germans weren't, Italians weren't, Irish weren't. I mean, there's any number of white...
Well, I understand the Irish, because those drunk bastards.
This is the process of apathy. I guess you're talking about the low turnout number. Well, yeah. And and I was going to mention this earlier, like, my theory of, you know, the electorate. Roughly 30-35% are always going to vote Republican.
Yeah.
Roughly 30-35%, maybe a little bit less, always vote Democrat. And everybody is trying to compete for that middle to push them over the top. I think that the mistake people make are thinking that those people in the middle are ideologically predisposed to one side or the other. Like, I don't think a lot of those voters are naturally conservatives and, you know, lean towards conservatism, or naturally liberal or progressive and lean towards liberal or progressive. I think what it is a lot of those people are trend followers. Like, they look for
who's gonna win.
They look for that's a part of it, but also they look for what's exciting.
Yeah.
Because everybody wants to be a part of something bigger than themselves.
Who has the momentum?
Yes, like, so like, if you have a charismatic person in the Republican Party like Donald Trump, you know, they will see, those people over there, they're really excited about Trump. That's why you get these people who will say things like, I don't really agree with, and then insert his main policy here, but he seems like getting really blah, 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 or whatever. And it's never about policy, but it's always about, like, I just think he could do something. He could change things or whatever.
He changed things up.
Yeah.
Most people don't even understand policy. Like,
not at all.
They don't. They're like looking for like the headline. They don't want to like read anything below. And the thing is I will say this for Trump, and I don't think this is not a smart thing, because this is something he indelibly understands. It's like it's not like something he's deduced. It's just an instinct that he has, like how a dog scratches on the ground after it takes a shit or whatever. You know what I mean? But he knows how to hit the fucking byline. You know what I'm saying?
Well, he's a master at reading the room.
You know, it's just like
he knows how to do that.
And that he doesn't get caught up in the weeds of shit. You know what I mean? He knows that people don't really care about where the ones and zeros are going. What they want to hear is the wall's going to be beautiful. It's going to be the best wall ever. It's going to be fucking 7 feet thick, and they're going to need a ladder as tall as the fucking pearly gates to get over it.
That's how he sold a lot of his business deals, because, you know, obviously a lot of them failed. And they were bad deals, bad business propositions to begin with on the face of it, but you know, he would never, you know, get people to agree to sign on board with some of his shit, you know, selling steaks out of a fucking sharper image, you know, if he didn't have the ability to just blow past the numbers and data and just be like, I'm just going to sell you on the charm of it.
You know what it is? And it's sad. I think to certain people that think about stuff a lot, it's kind of hard to believe, but it's that same kind of like Kanye West thing. It's like, if I just tell everyone I'm a fucking genius and I'm fucking great, a certain amount of people are just going to believe it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They don't need to see the evidence. It doesn't even matter. They're just going to believe it because I just keep fucking saying it.
Right.
Where a lot of people feel just the opposite. I happen to feel the opposite. Someone that tells me they're a genius, I immediately don't think they're a genius because a genius would never tell me they're a genius. It's fucking ridiculous. You know what I mean? Einstein didn't go around being like, I'm a genius.
Well, in addition to that, like, so you have a guy like Trump on that side, and, you know, Obama would be the version on, you know, the left side who was just incredibly charismatic and, you know, he was able. So this is the important part. For that middle, it's all about exciting your base. If Trump excites his base, all those people get whipped up into a frenzy. They're selling Trump merch left and right, all that kind of shit. Those middle people will look towards that and they'll be like, oh, there's something interesting going on over there. And then they'll be more predisposed to lead in that direction. Whereas if the Democratic side whipped up their base...
Who in the hell does he think he is? Who does he think he is?
Well, he's Trump. But on the other side, if Biden Biden just comes to mind, but Obama, you know, whips up his base, he's charismatic, a credible speaker, and he's talking about, you know, public option healthcare and all this sort of stuff. You whip up your base on that side, those exact same people will look at that and be like, oh, there's something wrong, and then they'll start going towards that end. So the reason why you have this low turnout for Democrats, turnout for Republicans was lower than 2020, but not by too much. But for Democrats, it was significantly lower. She did nothing. The Democratic Party did absolutely nothing to whip up their base. The one period of time when it looked like the middle was going to go that way was when the swap was made.
Yeah.
And then she picked Tim Walz. Like, there was so much excitement in the base.
And all the TikToks were going.
Oh, yeah.
The Tickins and the Tuckins.
And all of those people in the middle were like, oh, wow, something exciting is happening over there. You know, that was the one time when there started to be movement in that direction. After that DNC, that was when everything started to normalize. And then by the time we get to, you know, October, you know, mid-October, things start to move a little bit more in that other direction. Just because, you know, Trump is Trump. And it just kind of, you know, naturally happened that way. All of the excitement that the base had in the Democratic side was evaporated. None of it existed anymore. And I was warning people about that by tweets to my friend. You know, I was warning about that, but you know, people didn't believe that it was possible because, again, Trump, very well liked by his supporters, incredibly hated by everybody else. And I think they thought that was going to be enough.
I think they spent way too much time, probably. I mean, it's one of these things. I mean, Bill Maher and you know, Bill Maher is
despise that guy.
Yeah, I used to love Bill Maher back in the day in like the early 2000s. I used to watch his show during the Bush presidency all the time. As he has gotten older and the zeitgeist has moved on and left him behind to some degree, he's become embittered. And he spends a lot of time decrying woke this and woke that because a whole generation of kids and stuff don't think his jokes are really that funny anymore.
And that's all it is. It's not even that they're offensive or anything like that.
It's very personal. Yeah, they just don't think it's very funny. And on some level, I understand as someone that's seen the zeitgeist move on beyond them. You know what I mean? It's rough. And I imagine if you're a celebrity that, you know, it's probably equally rough. You know, it's just, he's seen to have gotten some shrift out of marketing to I'll say what the liberals, I'll say this is bullshit or what that. He generally is still liberal though. His policies are, but he's become, you know, whereas I used to find him like, yeah, you know, in the early 2000s. Now I find his smugness almost just like
it's insufferable.
Insufferable
levels of smugness.
It's rough, man. But he was saying that, you know, he's like, I wish that Kamala Harris had come up with something other than I'm not Trump as her reason to vote for her. He's like, but I'm not Trump is still a fucking good reason. You know what I mean? But the thing is that
it's good enough.
It's good enough for us. For some people, not enough.
For someone, you know, that's not, you know, struggling.
I mean, I just think that a certain amount of people were never going to vote for Trump. You know what I mean? And certain people just don't know enough about it. They're not plugged in enough to really have that much animus towards him. It's like, yeah, he says some wacky stuff, but
yeah, a lot of people just
the economy was going maybe a little better when he was president. I don't know. I don't remember who who was the president during the pandemic? Was it Trump or was it Biden? I don't know. It just seems like maybe things were a little bit better then. I don't know. Something we could probably do with a change, and I don't, that kind of shit. It's like the very the flippance. Like we imbue this idea that we're in there voting. It's a big fucking deal. We thought a lot about it. We've couched it in all this historical context, going back to fucking FDR and shit. A lot of people are just like, I'll go vote. You know what I mean?
Well, I think that this speaks a little bit to that. I saw this earlier. So this dude was in line at an ICE facility talking to migrants, and he updated. He's like, update. Several of the migrants I've been speaking with say they would have voted for Trump themselves. Most are folks who crossed the border illegally in the last 2 or 3 years. They don't believe Trump will deport them because they are here to work and are, quote, not criminals. And my response to that was, this makes me sad. Yeah. People want to trust other people's good nature so intrinsically, even if that other person is Donald Trump. They do not know that in right-wing eyes, immigrants existing in their space is the criminal act. And it reminds me of the story from 2017, which after Trump first won, Trump supporter regrets vote after undocumented husband is deported. And her quote was, I understand when you're a criminal and you do bad things, you shouldn't be in the country. But when you're a good citizen and you support and you help and you pay taxes and you give good jobs to people, you should be able to stay. So much of Trump's support, and maybe this is a controversial take on my end, but this is what I truly believe. A big chunk of Trump's support comes from genuinely good people who just trust people a bit too much. Like they'll hear, oh, Trump said this, and they'll be like, oh, but he didn't mean it like that. He didn't mean it. Yeah. He's being hyperbolic. Okay. This is and I think that stories like this speaks to that. I intrinsically want to trust that you just want to go after the bad guys. Like, you're just going after the bad guys. And, my husband's not a bad guy. Like, he's an undocumented immigrant, but I see him every day. He's a hard worker. He loves his kid. He loves his communities. He's employing people, etc., etc. But, like, in their eyes, like, there is no animus or evil or malintent behind the things that we see as, like, fascists, And
honestly, I think that the media creates an environment that enhances that fugue state, if you will. You know what I mean? Because it's like, there's a certain aspect, especially towards the end of the campaign, where it's like everything that came out of fucking Trump's mouth was like, he now advocates for this. It's like some of it was true. Some of it was like, well, that's not exactly what the dude was saying there. You guys are just kind of making a mountain out of it. There's so much other shit
when he was talking about, Liz Cheney with the firing squad or whatever.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
And it was like, well, it's pretty obvious he's saying, like, if she had to go to war, she would think differently about being a war hawk.
Which is a point that anyone makes about people.
Fortunate Son is about that.
And it's ridiculous. Hilariously, Bill Maher actually made this point as well. But it's ridiculous that there are people that would bring that up and try to. It's like, dude, there's so much else. And the thing is that his people that are kind of in between on the fence or not, they see that shit and they just think, well, this is just Trump derangement syndrome. Nothing they say, you know what I mean? So, and the sad thing is the people that drag that shit up, they're doing it for clicks. They're doing it because it's just a headline in your news feed. They will click on it. They don't actually think he meant that. No, and it's just capitalism eating its own tail. You know what I mean? And it's just like, dude,
the infotainment of news media.
And that's the thing. It's like, it's hard. It's the credibility sometimes is hard to maintain when he says crazy shit, when almost everything he says, crazy and not crazy, is absolutely blown up to fucking ridiculous proportions for clicks. You know what I mean? He is saying horrible shit. There is fucking plenty there. But not everything. I'm sure he says stuff like, yes, that sounds good. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, Trump says something sounds good. You know what I mean? It's like, he meant our discontent, It's like, whatever. And they do the cause of actually holding him accountable a disservice, but they're doing it for money. It's completely cynical. It's not rooted in any kind of true...
it's cynical and it diminishes legitimate critiques on actual, concerning things he says.
Now, and here's something else I want to bring up that we haven't talked about.
Can I catch up on chat real
Oh
quick
yeah,
first?
yeah, we do.
Okay.
We do.
Let's see. Trump really didn't do much better than he did in 2020. The Democrats just didn't show up this time. That's true.
Yeah.
If anything, I tell people they should at least get out and vote on local stuff like amendments. That's also very, very true, and that's going to become increasingly important in these coming years. I was 16 in 2000, couldn't vote, but I didn't vote until 2016 and have been consistently voting since. I don't know what that poggers is for, but I'm assuming one of us said something you agreed with. I'm assuming it's me, because I'm an egotist, and I want to do that. I think recognizing a difference is equally as important as recognizing commonality. Yeah, united diversity, standardization is not the solution for humanity.
Well, it becomes completely reductive after a point.
Mugen.
You know what I mean?
Mugen, the fighting game thing, Diego? If you're even still in here. I'm not insert bad guy does not work, though. Do they really think that's enough? I feel like they thought that was enough because of 2020, but 2020 was like its own set of circumstances. It was Trump during the pandemic, gullible ass people going through each state's voting issues, amendments, had no idea you had to be 21 in Iowa to vote. They approved changing that to 18. Crazy. I didn't know that either. That's not controversial. That's exactly what's happening. When I talk to the people here who vote for the fascists, they're just scared to say, they're just scared, but they also won't give the new people a chance. It becomes impossible to argue or even talk to them. They hold on to them like a messiah. Well, when you're in a situation where fascists have a chance to ascend the political ladder, usually you're in a climate where people become increasingly more desperate for a messiah. I'll be back in a second. Hold on. Fucking dog. I'm gonna kill this goddamn.
Also, guys, what's going on with your dog? He's dealing with that right now. He's dog sitting for a friend's dog, and the dog is just losing his shit down there. Never mind, they were already allowing 18-year-olds to vote, but now their state constitution language states it. Yeah. It was for the sword. Oh, yeah. Poggers. Yeah, I mean, that's another thing, though, I think, too, is fear. I think fear, like, you know, people, like, they talk about how Trump, well, I guess hate and fear won. It's like, yeah, hate and fear are pretty effective tools in America because our news has been selling us fear, you know, for clicks and for views since at least the early 80s. I mean, you watch news, American news in the 70s and the 60s, it's real dry, almost like the way the BBC is. But man, starting in the 80s, it's like, tonight at 9, your kids may be dead. You know what I mean? And it was just like that over and over again. And now we have a 24-hour news cycle where there's a chyron saying, you know, bombs imminent, you know, or whatever. And it's like it keeps us in a constant state of anxiety and fear, but that's what keeps our eyes on the TV. And the thing is that we're starting to see generations of Americans that have been raised on this shit. You know, it's like compared to the 80s, you know, per capita crime in America is down, you know, but when I was a kid, I ran free all day long out with my friends. You know, in the summer, we'd leave the house around 10, stay out all day long, live it up. And, you know, don't kill the doggo. And we would stay out all day long. My mom never worried. We never thought anything could come home at dark. But, you know, these days, man, kids don't do that. Kids are on play dates. And the crazy thing is that, oh, I'm afraid my kid's going to get kidnapped. And the thing is, I have a kid and I have the same fear, even though I know, you know, I know in my brain that a lot of this shit is it's safe as can be out there. I have issues with just being like, hey, I'll see you later. Come home before dark, you know? So even I'm a victim of the same stuff. It's rough. But it's the thing. It's like, you know, Trump runs a campaign based on fear and resentment and anxiety, and people are surprised when it has results. You know, we've Yeah, I don't. Devin's down there dealing with the dog, and I've actually never ever been on a stream by myself before, so I have no idea how the ads work. I've just been talking to the ether here. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it's at all surprising that people respond to being told that their streets are full of criminals and psychopaths, and Hannibal Lecter is lurking behind, you know, every hedgerow with a fork and a knife and a bib. You know, what I think is actually more surprising is that people thought that it wouldn't work. And this is America after all. But it's done now. It's going to be weird, though. We're going to have Elon Musk in our fucking government. It's going to suck balls. And Robert Kennedy Jr., we look forward to hearing him explain to us in a press conference why 5G has been discontinued throughout the consecutive United States. I didn't even think of that yet. Hillary Clinton is waiting in the tall grass, waiting to jump out and steal souls of the... Yeah, exactly. To drink their adrenochrome.
Is that what's happening?
I was... Elon Musk can't even run Twitter. Him being in a cabinet is just an appalling thought. But, I mean, it does beg a better question. You know, it's like, man, this has got to be the most amazing foreign intelligence operation ever. Like, Vladimir Putin has literally just hit a fucking hole in one, you know? I mean, Trump is, I mean, at this point, almost a borderline Russian asset. And so is Elon Musk, it appears. He talks to Vladimir Putin all the time. You know what I mean? And it's like, dude.
That's one of those.
It's fucking wild. I mean, it's just crazy to think that, like, I mean, Russia blows. It's the worst. You know what I mean? And it's it sucks so bad. And it's like that dude has managed to evaporate his Ukraine problem with, you know, a fuck ton of bots. And, you know, telling Elon Musk that the Cybertruck actually looks really cool and that everyone on Twitter that's hating on it are just jealous because he's so smart and awesome. And that he totally would have beat up.
I despise Musk more than I do Trump or any other Republican. So the idea that this dude is going to have a cabinet position and is probably going to be transportation secretary, which means that those bullet trains that they're building from Dallas to Houston and LA to Vegas, they're done.
What's crazy, too, is that he straight up was just essentially paying for votes. I mean, the illegality of it was just unbelievable. You know what I mean? It's like, but they won, so they won. That's it.
Numbers, the rambunctious. Welcome to the stream. How you doing tonight? I gotta say, though, once the farmers get affected by the tariffs and go broke, the mass layoffs that are going to happen and prices of food skyrocket. Yeah, when they did the tariffs during his first administration, the soybean farmers were hit pretty hard by that. Well, except those Trump voters with open arms and not point fingers or saying it's so and so's fault, since it's going to be all hands on deck situation.
Well, you're a better man than I. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, it is.
I'm going to say, you need my help? I'm going to need you to recite so a few words I've written down on this slip of paper. You probably should do it on your knees, I think.
I mean, again, I don't... I've always thought this. I'm not for blaming the electorate. Like, you know...
I am, and I'm not.
The Republicans ran the campaign that they always run. And that's what I say about Trump, is that there's nothing really uniquely different about him as a Republican from virtually any other Republican that ran before him. He's just a little bit more crass than they are.
No,
but they believe in all the same policies.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I think that there is.
Oh, what's different?
I think that he has a uniquely different temperament. He has.
That's what I'm saying. It's just the delivery mechanism is more crass or more charismatic or more this or that.
Well, yeah,
but it's still tax cuts for businesses.
You're right, but that's huge though. I mean, that's like that's everything.
Well, it's huge for the It's the difference between policies and politics. If the policies are the same, but the politicking is different.
I actually think he's less of an ideologue than the classic sense of conservatism. Like I think some of the shit that comes out of his mouth, he hasn't thought of it very long. It's just completely. It's not really even conservative. It's just some.
I don't think you're wrong, but and there are instances, and you know what? There are instances where he has deviated from like the traditional conservative path, but he's not an ideologue. But he is, again, the ultimate room reader. Like, he knows where his bread is buttered, and he knows that playing to the conservative base is going to get him, what he wants, which is...
And he has people tell them what it is they want to hear. I mean, he doesn't, like...
Right, and if he knows...
Historically, he said all kinds of wacky shit that later on they were like, oh, slow down here.
And he'll tell you. He'll be the first to admit it. He was like, I think it was early in the campaign. He was talking about, I don't know if he was talking about specifically Ron DeSantis, but he was talking about like, all the conversation around trans people. And he was literally saying like, I don't like talking about trans people, but I say it and you guys go crazy. And it's like, oh, okay, I guess they like that, because he was never anti-trans until his base was.
Well, he doesn't even give a shit.
He doesn't give a shit. No,
he doesn't know any trans people. He doesn't,
he might, but I mean, it's New York, so who knows, but he might
have known some in the 70s.
It's not. I don't think he is super ideologically bent. No, but I'm not talking about.
He's just an asshole.
I'm not talking about him as a person. Yeah, he's the ultimate opportunist. I'm not talking about him as a person. I'm talking about him as a candidate, as a Republican candidate. And as a Republican candidate, his policies fall exactly in line with every other Republican candidate before and I'm sure after too. Like. There's no difference. It's just the delivery mechanism is a little different. You watch a Republican debate. What do they differ on?
I mean, he breaks with typical Republican doctrine, or up to him with a lot of his foreign policy.
Well, I was gonna say
far more protectionist. He's far more like uninvolved. Like he doesn't want to. He's not a globalist.
Oh, I don't believe that.
You know
I don't believe that. I think his involvement's just different. Like, he's not a peaceful dove. The first thing he did when he came into office was drop, literally, quote unquote, the mother of all bombs on Syria. Like, he's not a peace lover at all. His engagement is just opposite. Like, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing in the respects that I think it's more beneficial for American diplomats to communicate with North Korea than it is to constantly keep them, in isolation and in sanctions and shit like that. Like, I think the better way to resolve tensions in that area with North Korea is to engage with them. I just think that, that's the better solution. And I like that he did that. Literally the only thing, though. Literally the only thing.
The thing is that he's not a dove. I'm not saying that, but he's not a neocon. He doesn't subscribe to the very, very popular neoconservative idea that we've kind of forgotten about. So after all the years of Obama,
until Liz Cheney came back,
where the idea is that we go over and we turn these people into Americans by and that was very much de rigueur for the Republican Party all the way down the line.
Well, that was the biggest point of deviation from him and other Republicans. It's also, again, we know he's not an ideologue, but he is a room reader, and he knew at that time in 2016. Even Republicans were fed up with that shit. Like, nobody wanted.
Well, I think the voters were. I think there were probably lots of guys in the.
No, that's what I meant. Republican voters were fed up with that shit. Let's see. We'll be okay. I hope. We have faced some pretty bad shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently what the fuck? Can't believe I used to be a Musk fan. Oh, never admit that, man. You can't admit that shit anymore.
I never was like super pro Musk. I didn't hate him. Back before the pedo shit, we talked about this when his villain arc started. I thought he was cool. Teslas were cool. I didn't know much about him. I was like, yeah, he's building rockets. Those cars are cool. I see him out there, And then all of a sudden the pedo thing, and it's like, what? Why did he call that guy that? You know what I mean? And then just like that began the slow villain arc.
It really started with that. Yeah,
full villain arc now. You know what I mean? Although, I went by the Tesla factory on my way here. I didn't know where it was.
Oh yeah, it's right over there.
Holy shit, that place
pretty
is
big. It's pretty big.
I mean, it just kept going. I was like, this is like something out of a fucking video game. You know what I mean? It was wild.
Pro freedom, but literally friends with a dictator. I mean, that's every American president. And that's apparently legal, or at least not illegal. I don't know what you're referring to there, Jamal. I guess I'm backed up on my chats here. Most farmers are subsidized by large companies. I'm sure they will figure it out. There are a lot of farm subsidies, but
yeah, there are.
I don't know. It depends.
Did you watch the most recent John Oliver on farm subsidies?
I guess not. I don't remember talk about farm subsidies.
Fucking wild.
I'll have to look that up.
People are gaming that system to just ridiculous degrees.
That's the most dangerous people IMO, just saying whatever as long as it gets them what they want. By the way, he said, I'll end the war in 24 hours. How many hours has it been? I don't know if he's
not president yet.
Yeah, he probably meant since...
So wait till January for that shit.
I was referring to that Musk was buying Trump's Trump votes. Oh yeah, okay.
He pretty much was.
I'm sure that is illegal, which is I think that they were hinting at
they
lawsuits.
changed the wording and shit of it. Yeah, I mean he won't suffer any consequences.
No, not anymore.
Had Harris won though, I mean, supposedly Elon himself said if like Harris wins, I'm probably fucked. You know what I mean?
That fucking infuriates me more than anything in the world.
He got out ahead of his skis a little bit. I think that Musk works from the Silicon Valley, move fast and break things. I think he had this idea and no one was there to say like, hey, what the fuck are you doing? And then before they knew it, they had gone live with big checks and all this bullshit. And then lawyers like told him, dude, you need to fucking mind your P's and Q's, and it may be too late. And they tried to like square the circle on that deal, but doesn't matter now because Trump won.
Man, and I've been saying like they should have killed every company that is tangentially connected to Elon Musk. They should have killed every single government contract. Remove all those government contracts because he's nothing without them. Tesla's nothing without him. Like the second that dude like he revealed what he was and he bought fucking Twitter, kill it. Because it's only going to be a net negative for you. And it turns out it was. It was a colossal net negative. But yeah. Democrats are cowards, and we're seeing yet another result of their cowardice. My initial thoughts on Musk were mainly from SpaceX. I'm glad it exists, but forget that guy. I don't even... That all should be NASA shit.
I kind of agree.
It should just be NASA.
Should do it.
The only reason why SpaceX exists in the way that it is because fucking Obama defunded NASA. Yeah. And it's like, why? Why? Just to make this guy rich so he could turn around and rat fuck everyone? Like, congratulations, Obama. Yet another thing you fucked up is empowering this asshole. It should have just been NASA because it was always NASA. It was always NASA.
And it was a point of pride.
And it was a huge point of pride.
Like SpaceX, I don't have a lot of pride in it. It's just
no one gives a fuck about SpaceX.
Fucking company, you know what I mean? I mean that, they're doing some cool stuff, but it's like, I don't know. I just fucking hate Elon Musk so much. Hate is too strong a word. He's just fucking annoying. It's like a mosquito in the room that you're in. You're like, God damn it, where's that fucking mosquito? Every once in a while he bites you, and he's in here somewhere, but you can't see him, and then he fucking bites you again, and you're like,
but it's a mosquito that weighs like 7,000 pounds. Yeah, so if it lands on your shoulder, it's gonna break your arm off.
I really wish that what's his face had just beaten his ass. Mark Zuckerberg.
They're all the same people. Like they all fell in line behind Trump like 6 or 7 months ago, and they all like the billionaire class coalesced around that dude.
They were gonna have a fight.
I know that they were posturing that way. I don't know what the legitimacy of that was, but they were posturing that way.
And Mark Zuckerberg would have beaten his ass, and that would have been hilarious.
Probably, but I mean, they're all.
I have no love for Mark Zuckerberg, but I would see literally anyone punch Elon Musk in the face.
Yeah,
Also, Robert Kennedy Jr., dude, we're about to get like 5G is going offline, dude. No more vaccines. That shit's fucking done. What else are we gonna do?
Well, he said he did say that and I you trust his word at your own peril.
Kill a bear and put him in a park day.
He said he said that people's vaccines are safe. He's not going to take away anyone's vaccine, but the first thing he wants to do is remove fluoride from the water.
Oh, that's right. Fluoride from the water, so our teeth will all go soft. Actually, I say there's so much fluoride in toothpaste that we don't really need it in the water anymore. But
yeah,
Alex Jones thinks fluoride makes us all gay, man. It's turning the freaking frogs gay.
Yeah, I'm indifferent on the fluoride in the water thing, but that guy's going to do so much other disastrous stuff.
And
you know what? He's killed a lot of people in Samoa. His shit has killed a lot of people in Samoa.
Yeah. And they're going to be up there he's going to be up there croaking like a frog, and that's right. You know what?
Well, he has a throat condition.
He does.
He just can't talk like this.
What the fuck? You know what I mean? I know it's not his fault, but...
Oh, fuck that guy.
Yeah. That's kind of where I'm at, dude.
How a collapse in vaccination rates killed more than 70 children. If you guys want to read this, I'll toss it to you guys too. But yeah, he's
a really cool guy.
This is what you can look forward to stateside.
Making America great again.
Oh yeah, we didn't even finish this video.
Yeah, let's finish this.
Built this country. You consider that a fact?
When my ancestors built this nation, they did not build it with the intention of giving it away to Mexicans or Chinese or Haitians or to anyone else.
Do you consider it, you keep saying your ancestors built this country. You consider that a fact?
Who else built it?
Black people, Native Americans, Chinese people who came and built the railroads.
Do you think none of that could have been
Italian
achieved?
people.
But they're Europeans, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, that guy's just a fucking racist.
No, I mean, that's the thing, though. Like,
I don't think your average rank and file Trump voter, not your ideologue, or your super MAGA people, would be as elegant is the wrong word. Blasé might be a better word.
Erudite in your racism.
In their racism, exactly. There was a certain blasé,
No, he studied some books to really get his racism pinpointed down.
It was still based in the same well, as everybody, but it's vocabulary, and he was eating with his fork turned upside down.
Polio is ready for its return arc. I mean, measles had its return, so why not polio? Devin, you on Blue Sky yet, by the way? I left Twitter behind for 99%. Just 2 people there left I follow. I have a Blue Sky and a Threads. I just don't use them yet.
I heard Threads is awful.
Threads is pretty
I don't
bad.
do any of that shit, but
You're probably smarter for it.
I heard Threads is awful.
You're probably smarter.
The only social media I have, I don't know. YouTube isn't social media, so I don't have any social media. I do still have a Facebook account, but I only use it.
Oh, that's probably the worst.
Well, I only use it for Facebook Marketplace, which is the fucking
which
jam,
is the best.
Yeah.
You can find some shit on Facebook Marketplace. Yes, that's the only value that thing has anymore.
But honestly, they should just jettison fucking Facebook. If they could let you just have a Marketplace account, I'd lose Facebook completely.
Honestly, that would probably be the most efficient, the most financially efficient thing they could do.
Yeah.
Just get rid of all that social media stuff and just make it a marketplace.
Just, take a little bit off the top.
OMG, I met a person like that in the train a little while ago. It was one of the most insane encounters I had IRL. Like the fork guy? You met someone like the fork guy? Blue Sky is awesome, honestly. It's mostly just Twitch for me. That's about it. I mean, as you can see, I've got Twitter fingers for sure.
I guess when you live in Austria...
Kudos,
Oh, Hillary Clinton tells MSNBC she is coaching Kamala Harris on how to beat Donald Trump.
What is that from? 20 hours ago?
There's no surprise there.
What's your assessment of the stakes of this
Yeah.
election? I mean, you are in a very exclusive club of people who've ever run for president, let alone run against Donald Trump. So to what extent do you offer counsel or do you speak with Kamala Harris about how to run against Donald Trump, who, as you've said, is a different candidate now, a darker candidate, arguably, than he was in 2016?
That's absolutely true, Willie. You know, I've talked with Kamala a few times. I obviously talked with her before the debate. Because he is more incoherent. He is angrier. He is lashing out all the time at everybody. He's filled with grievance and rage. And, you know, in my acceptance speech at the convention way back in 2016, I said, you know, you can't trust somebody with nuclear weapons who you can bait with a tweet. Because I saw that in...
Well, good thing that was a winning message.
Yeah. I mean...
Kudos, Elaine, on a job. Done.
It's funny. I mean, people were like talking like, oh, I guess hate won, or, you know, obviously hate and fear and blah, blah, blah. It's like, man, do you watch any of our movies? Any of our media? America is a culture of violence. You know what I mean? It's like, that shit plays. We love watching people fucking threaten people, look badass, fucking kick people's ass. You know, what do they say? A kid by the time he's 6 years old has seen like 5,000 acts of violence on, you know, or something like that.
Oh, I'm sure. I don't know that exact stat.
Yeah, but it's a famous stat. I can't remember exactly the numbers, but it's something insane. And you know, it's like we have essentially, you know, we have anesthetized this electorate to some degree from feeling shock or, being alienated by a lot of that rhetoric. You know what I mean? In fact, we've actually primed a lot of them to be very susceptible to it. You know, because it seems assertive, badass. John Wick kicks ass. He fucking goes in there. He doesn't ask. He fucking takes. Blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? Dude, that's us. That's some American shit. Like, I remember when I was watching... and you know, maybe our friend from Austria can. I was watching the original Swedish version of the girl with the dragon tattoo. You know,
I never watched that.
It's really good. But there's a scene where like the serial killer guy, you know, he is chasing. He's gonna kill the guy who's investigating him. He's gonna kill him. He's got him tied up. He's gonna serial kill him. He's in his kill room. He's got him tied up. He's gonna fucking do a bunch of crazy shit to him and stuff. And he's doing his thing. He's like, I'm so smart and I'm a badass and I'm gonna fucking cut you to pieces. But then he fucks up and the guy gets away. You know what I mean? And turns the tables on him. And then they're having a chase, right? And like, they end up, I think the girl shows up and she bails him out somehow. They end up like in a wreck. And the serial killer guy, gets thrown like underneath the car and he's like burning or whatever. And the girl goes up and she just like watches him burn. She doesn't help him out or whatever, you know? And like, or she just leaves or something. And in the show, she's like, I didn't help him. I didn't do anything. I just left. And the guy was like, I would have never done that. You know, he's like, I would never have let any person just burn there. And I was like, oh my God, you can completely see this is not an American piece of media. Because an American piece of media, when the fucking guy was caught there, he would have walked over and he would have been like, how's that fire feel, motherfucker? You know, seems like you weren't, you know, and he would have taken his dick out and pissed on him. Oh, I'm going to put the flames out. And the guy would have been like, I'm burnt to a crisp.
It's funny you mentioned that because I think I talked about this some time ago when I was talking about a Korean I guess it's a horror movie. It's more like a action thriller called I Saw the Devil. Fantastic movie. One of my favorite movies of all time. That movie ends in a very emotionally or psychologically harrowing way. Spoiler alert if you hadn't watched that and planned to, but and I'll try not to spoil it too much, but I mean, it's going to be the ultimate spoiler, so I guess I can't avoid it. But at the end of the movie, the main guy, like, he spent the entire movie, like, chasing a serial killer. But, I mean, it's such a brutal movie. He's chasing the serial killer, but he catches him, like, 2 or 3 times. And each time, like, he fucking tortures the serial killer and then lets him escape so he can hunt him down again. So, like, he's just hunting and torturing the serial killer because at the start of the movie, the guy is, like, basically South Korean Secret Service.
Yeah.
And at the start of the movie, the serial killer like killed his pregnant wife. So like he's like, okay, I'm gonna find this guy. I'm gonna fuck his life up. You know, so he does throughout the course of the movie, and eventually he gets away from him a little bit, and the serial killer gets one up on him, etc. But he catches him at the end and ties him to this elaborate like fucking thing, a guillotine that the blade is being held by a rope that's in his mouth.
Created a guillotine.
Yeah, and like the rope to the blade of the guillotine is tied to like a doorknob, and that doorknob is tied to like the thing in his mouth. And then, like, if somebody opens the door, then it's out of his mouth. But he has like a bug there, so like he's walking away and he's listening, and like the dude, like the killer's family is coming home, and he's desperately trying to tell them not to open the door, but like they can't make out what he's saying because he has the thing in his mouth. So they're like trying to open the door, and the dude is walking away listening to it. Eventually, they open the door, and like the thing fucking falls and like chops the dude's head off, and like he just like the family is screaming like ah, like the dude's walking away and he's listening to it, and then after that he like takes the bug out and like throws it, and he starts walking. But then like he has like this incredible mental breakdown, like this incredible. It's like you can like because the entire movie the guy is just like stone faced, etc. And this is like the only time he shows like some kind of emotion. Like it's just this harrowing scene of him like and like he's like in the middle of the street and he's like flailing, and like it just looks so fucking awful. And it's like panning out. The camera is panning out slowly or pulling back slowly, and then fade to black and credits. And it's just like that's how it ends. Like that wasn't like ultimately he gets what he wants, but like it isn't satisfying for him. Like it's anguish. Like
it's almost like revenge. It doesn't really.
Yeah, it made it almost worse for him, I think. But then like I thought about that in context to like the remake of The Invisible Man. Yeah. And The Invisible Man ends kind of the same way, where like she gets one up on the dude and fucking kills him. I think he's burning alive or whatever. And she's walking away kind of the same way, but then she has a smile. And she's like, I did it. Like triumphant music starts playing, and then credits. And I remember watching that, I was like, that is the opposite of I Saw the Devil.
Yeah.
Like that is so, and it's so interesting that like, you know, the same kind of thing elicits they're trying to elicit two different types of emotions from the same event. And that event is a grisly murder, you know? So yeah, you're right. Like there is, you know, a distinctly, I guess maybe not European, but not American view.
Yeah. It's a culture of violence.
I tend to just stick with Twitter. Other ones pop up and the almost immediately fade away. A group of the three people talking blatant racism in the train. Nobody batted an eye. Had to speak up. Oh Jesus. Well, Austria. So
I mean, I was gonna say, you know,
I don't think you're gonna get jumped on a train there, but Blue Stars we're checking out. And it's on a very set pace, financed, and over 30 million users now IRC. I have it. I'm on it. I just don't ever. I forget that I have it. I have a strong disdain and indifference for social media. I mainly use social media for DMs. Oh, I've not watched that at the time, but I was interested. Holy shit, that was in 2011. Was that movie really 2011? Huh. I mean, it's a great movie. You should still watch it. I mean,
you've seen Unforgiven, right?
You've asked me that like 50 times, and
really?
Somehow like the answer is still no.
Oh my god, dude! Unforgiven is it's a meditation on violence. You know what I mean?
Meditation on violence.
You got to watch it. It's weird because it completely does. You know, there's the Wolverine thing, right? Where a Wolverine movie, generally, well, maybe not all of them, but the ones I've seen, Wolverine spends a certain amount of time
just fucking people up,
getting his ass kicked.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And they're like, oh my God, Wolverine, when are you going to fucking, and they just fucking beat his ass over and over. Eventually, he's just had all he can stand, and he's like, raw, the fucking claws come out, and he just fucking, you know, everyone's like, yeah, give me that fucking violence. It's kind of like that, but it's a lot more. There's a lot more going on. You know what I mean? It asks, you know, so what is it about this? You like this on some level. What is it about this that you like? You know, but at the same time, it's doing it too. You know what I mean? It's a really good movie. You should watch.
I should add that to my list. At some point I will. Unforgiven is great. It got a Japanese remake
Oh,
a
a
couple of years
Japanese
ago.
remake? I'd like to see that.
Hold on a second.
Yeah, the Clint Eastwood movie, Unforgiven.
Oh, Ken Watanabe is in it. I like that dude. Oh, it's got a 94 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow, the Japanese remaking an American movie.
Okay, that's cool. I mean, I like Ken Watanabe. I guess it's probably more Yakuza based than cowboy based. Set in a Shogun. Okay, so samurai based.
Nice.
All right, shit. I'll have to watch both then.
Yeah, I haven't actually seen The Good, Bad, and the Ugly. I need to see that, but I think Unforgiven is probably Clint Eastwood's greatest movie. And maybe the greatest Western ever made, other than possibly Good, Bad, and the Ugly, which I haven't seen. I need to see that.
I mean, my favorite is always, and probably will always be, Once Upon a Time in the West. I just really, really enjoy that movie. Kill Bill also had the same message as well, where revenge doesn't work out as well as you think it will. I can't remember how that one ended.
It ends. I mean, yeah, on some level I can see, but it ends with her crying. Very similar. She's like broken down on the floor of the bathroom. But I always kind of got the sense that those were almost like tears of joy, in the sense that she had completed her thing and got her daughter back, and she was just trying to cope with that not being her raison d'etre anymore on some level, both joy and then also, but there is the scene between her and Bill where, you get this kind of, but I mean, that scene, that movie is hyper violent. Obviously, it's so stylized. It's a good movie. It's a very American movie in that regard, but even as it apes a lot of non-American movies.
If you're talking about the Clint Eastwood Unforgiven, wait, what? I don't even know what that means, Vince. We did a Japanese Sin City. I forgot about Sin City. Does Robert Rodriguez still operate in the city?
I think so.
The El Rey studio still here?
It's not El Rey. El Rey was a television network.
El Rey was the network. Okay.
Troublemaker is his studio, and it's
okay.
there in the old Mueller Airport somewhere back in there. I've been there once, but it's been a long time.
I just don't hear anything about. I mean, is anything even produced in Austin anymore?
Yeah, there's still stuff happening here. I don't know. I want to say there's at least one show being made. They made that show 1883 here, and they made Fear the Walking Dead here.
Oh, they did Fear the Walking Dead here. Okay.
Yeah, and there's another show I think about to start shooting, or is already shooting, going right now. But it's not like they're not doing like 5 shows at once or anything.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, man. So I'm probably gonna need to break out here because I gotta.
Oh, for sure.
I gotta work tonight. But what do you think going forward? What do Democrats do in 2026? Jesus.
What is different? I mean, it's the midterm, so you have to.
They got to get at least the House.
Win one of those. Win one of those things.
One of those back.
Yeah, I mean,
just to put a fucking finger in the dam. You know what I mean?
That's literally the only thing they can do is win the House or the Senate, preferably both. I don't know who's up for re-election. I don't know what the likelihood of that is going to be.
This wasn't a great map for them this year with regards to the Senate.
It wasn't, but I mean the opportunities were still there by virtue of the fact. I mean, just about every poll leading up to the election, all the Democratic candidates were performing pretty well. Obviously, as was the case with the presidential race, those numbers shifted once votes started getting cast. But even after that, like all of them still overperformed Kamala Harris's numbers. So the opportunity was there, for an upset if, we just had a more competent race at the top of the ticket. I think she really hurt the down ballot tickets. So not much you can do about that.
So do you think there would have been this? They should have ran somebody else? Because remember, we started this with a tier list that we made.
We did. We made that tier list. Yeah, like
Where is it? Do you still have it somewhere?
Probably not. I don't think I saved it. Let me see. The thing is, like, it's gotten me feeling a different way because at the time I remember. I didn't. No, I don't think I have it saved anymore. Because at the time I was, they were talking about wanting to do a blitz primary, and choose whoever after that. And there was a lot of like back and forth between different camps about whether that was a good idea or not. And people that I generally agree with and side with, Birdie, AOC, etc., they were, they didn't want any part of either. Like, they wanted to stick with Biden, and I was like, that's fucking crazy. Like, what the fuck are you guys thinking?
That would have, we would have lost by 1,000,000 fucking miles if we'd stuck with Biden.
Likely.
He can barely talk. I
agree with that.
The garbage, and that actually, that was what I was going to talk about. So,
that was probably the most salient thing he said. Honestly, I mean, it was probably the most salient thing he said, and like, people reacted pretty positively to it.
I mean, I think that like the way that they like hedged it, he was talking about he had an apostrophe. He should have just said, you know what, fuck them. They're being racist at a fucking at a borderline Nazi rally. He should have,
like, they were like, are you calling Trump supporters garbage? He should have been like, did you not see what they were saying? All those people at that,
the ones that were there that thought that shit was funny
when they were applauding, yeah, they're garbage.
You know what I mean?
What the fuck you want from me?
Yeah, exactly. I'll call it like I see it. And people would be like, okay. I mean, it's not like those are the people they pissed off. People are never going to vote for him anyway. They're just so afraid to just fucking have some balls.
And not only that, but they're sitting here like, fucking clutching their pearls about Joe Biden possibly calling Trump supporters garbage after they said some racist ass shit. When Trump every fucking day is like, the Democrats are evil, they're the enemy of the people, et cetera, like saying like way worse shit.
Oh yeah, dude.
So like, people responded positively to it because it was like the first sign of like fighting back, pushback, which is what they should have done from the start. Like, this whole, I'm going to be a unifier and be for everybody, and I'm going to have a Republican in my cabinet, and all that fucking dumbass
that
shit.
Was the one thing that she said that she would do different than Biden.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, you have no idea who you're fucking dealing with here. But that being said, so one of my big arguments, just generally for Trump, I was like, not against Trump, is that it's like the people that are, that are on the fence. It's like, dude, Trump is crazy. He's fucking, he's ridiculous. I want someone competent. I want someone smart, not an idiot. Almost anyone with a brain could be like, yeah, that guy is not like tip top. He's obviously fucking sundowning, and even when he wasn't sundowning, he could barely hold it together, But the problem is that the Democrats have kind of undercut the competence, raw dynamism argument with regards to Trump by fucking holding this much water for Biden and letting him get that bad. You know what I mean? Because
just completely and totally like ignoring and dismissing any concern and hiding, actively hiding.
Certainly obfuscated that, and they made that argument very, very difficult for them to make. That was another argument they could make. Is like, dude, I'm 59 years old. I'm super competent. You saw me crush his ass in the debate. Dude, listen to him talk. He could barely hold it together. And all the Republicans would say was like, yeah, but you were literally fucking like holding water for someone that is even worse than Trump. Trump absolutely crushed him in that first debate. The guy could barely talk. You know what I mean?
Biden crushed himself.
Yeah. I mean, it was ridiculous. And that's the thing. It's like, so what, man, what should they have done? I think they probably should have, when it seemed like that he didn't have it together, they should have said, you know what, you're done, bro. You're out. She's in.
They should way earlier. Yeah. They should have had a primary. They should have forced the primary. Like, the reason why I think that Kamala ran such a bad campaign, relative to even what generic Democrats would run in years prior.
I'm not 59. Sorry. I'm 40. I'm 47. Did I say I was 59?
I think you were talking as Kamala. You were speaking through.
Oh, yeah.
Kamala making the case.
Yeah, I was.
That she's younger, more vibrant, more energetic.
I was
more
in character,
coherent. Yes.
Yeah.
And scene.
Yeah, exactly. I was blowing that guy's number. Yeah, she's like 59 or 60 or right in there. She's in her late 50s or early 60s.
But
possibly 61 or 59. I want to say 59, but I could be wrong.
Not having a primary meant that she didn't have to make concessions or promises towards any kind of policy that voters would have actually wanted. Like, to me, the turning point of this campaign, of her campaign, was the DNC. Because when the DNC happened, that was when she got into a room, and you know, there's actually a really good video from the least last person I would expect there to be a good video from, that perfectly explains how the DNC turned this whole fucking thing.
In my head, I was like, Chris Como. Who? Oh, that guy.
Yeah, the guy that said Fredo is the N-word for Italians.
Yeah, and he's on News Nation now.
He's on News Nation now because he had to get excised from CNN. But this was his reporting at the DNC.
A big theme here at the DNC is that they're going to go after corporate gouging. And they're going to go after corporations, whether it's in taxes, largesse, loopholes. The RNC, we heard the same thing. They're going after the elites. The two sets of rules. Let me reveal a reality to you that has to be spoken to here, okay? These are the soldiers. These are the men and the women that go back to their constituencies and their communities, and they fight. They take time from their jobs. They take time from their families. Republicans and Democrats alike, that's what they do. They need to charge these people up. They need to be able to get them on board. But there's another reality that is literally looking down on them. Greg, look at the ring of sweets, okay? This is not unique to Democrats. There is a game of money. When people talk about uniparty, we are strangled by the money reality in our politics. Those suites start at 500 grand. You think there's like a teacher group up in there? You think it's like the Cub Scouts of Columbia County, South Carolina, that's up in those boxes? Some of them are lobbies and good things. The media boxes, you think they're free? Why do you think I'm on the floor? News Nation is not a broke company. Nexstar is a massive organization. We are corporate media. We don't have one of those boxes because that's the game. You pay to play. Those boxes are filled with the same people that they say they're going to regulate. They are literally looking down on the faithful and being told, yeah, we're going to break down on them. We're going to make them pay their share. They paid $500, $700, $1 million, $1.5 million to have those seats. They get hotel suites that are probably gifted to the party. And the same thing is true with the Republican side. And they're going to take them down. They're going to change how it is. They are looking down from on high at the people who make the difference in their communities. And that is the reality of politics. And I had my producer walk around and show you those suites. Now, they're not all the same. They're not all the same. But the reality is, in 2000, they spent $300 million on presidential campaigns. 24 years later, you know what they're expected to spend? $10 billion. Do you know how much money Harris has raised in the last couple of weeks? Hundreds of millions. And that's success. A lot of it's small donor, a lot of it isn't. The most dangerous money in politics is now legal money because of Citizens United. You've got to know this. The idea that they can fight against it is almost laughable. It's almost laughable. So look and listen when you are told these things. Because I don't care what they promise you. Not here tonight, not at the RNC, not that Trump knows them, not that they don't own them. He did one of the biggest fundraisers I've ever heard of in my life out where I live. Millions of dollars a plate. That's the reality of politics.
Yep, $5 million for those 2 lower level suites too. Like, that's the excitement that her campaign had was crushed at that convention. In a lot of ways, like if you watched, they had a lot of like social media influencers and whatnot that were at the DNC. They were streaming, they were cutting content, etc. If you paid attention to like a few people here and there, you could see the mood change around day 2, maybe day 3. You could see the mood change, the vibe changed. Like there were all sorts of like, you know, especially when, you know, there was a bigger push to have a Palestinian speaker. Once
they should have let that girl speak.
They should have let her speak. And like that, not letting her speak changed the vibe a lot. that was when you started getting people, you know, they started coming down on people there. And when she gave that speech, I think you were here, we watched that speech. Like,
she said something. She said something about Palestine. They should have let the other.
They should have. I mean, yeah, they should have. They should have let her speak. Like, the thing is, like, this is my theory. Because she didn't have a primary, she didn't have to make concessions to voters or anybody else. There wasn't any kind of like coalition building with somebody else who, you know, really contested her for, you know, the nomination or anything like that. This was basically free. And I think I spelt this out a little bit. This was basically free money for this was a road apple basically for the donor class. And let me see if I can find it. Shit, I don't even know how far back this thing goes. But because of that, so let me see. So my friend was saying, I was saying, you know, that's what makes it suck so much. I missed the excitement of the Waltz pick because I was saying that she was, you know, running to the right and coming down on young voters and Latino voters. And my friend was like, why is she doing that? I said, the uncynical answer is she thinks she needs to court a bunch of Republicans to win. The cynical answer is Democrats know they can run away from progressive politics and go full corporatist as long as they can say, Trump is bad, you have no choice. Especially since Kamala didn't go through a primary and thus didn't have to make any promises or assurances to win primary votes. For the wealthy elites, it's a free pass to freeze out the left and push the Dem party super far right. To which she responded, if they want that, why don't they just go for Trump? And I said, because voters hate Trump. And that hatred alone might be enough to get him to lose. Trump is going to do what they want regardless. He's not going to suddenly become a socialist. So if he wins, great. If Kamala wins, they need to push her as close to Trump as possible. Then she goes, then why do you think he's going to lose if the voters hate him? And I said, because there's still a lot who don't. And Kamala deactivating her base makes it more likely for that contingent of Trump lovers to win key states. This election should not be close, you know? And then, you know, continue the conversation from there. But that was my contingent on October 11th, and it turned out to be true. I think that they lost because they were arrogant. They thought we don't need to do any of that normal Democratic shit to win. We're not talking about healthcare. We're not talking about fucking minimum wage. We're not talking about any of that shit. All we need to do is say that Trump is a unique evil that needs to be defeated, and we will win. Well,
obviously that's what they thought, because that's exactly what they did.
That is exactly what they did.
But they should have known that wasn't going to be enough. It's weird. I think, again, it's just like a weird confirmation bias. You know what I mean? It's hard for people that think that Trump is the fucking great Satan to understand that a lot of people don't see him that way. They don't see him the same way. You know what I mean? And that you're like, this is the word, you know, this is the, oh, okay, cool, I was close. I said 59, I guess.
Kamala just turned 60. Okay. Link me to that, the Cuomo thing.
But yeah, man. I think that next time they should just fucking, you know, throw caution to the wind. But sadly, you know, I've never, other than maybe Obama, I've never experienced what that would actually be like. So
yeah, it would be nice, wouldn't it?
You know, Obama. I mean, he promised some shit. I remember feeling like, oh man, he's really promising some shit. But you know,
he ran as a progressive,
yeah,
and then governed as a centrist,
yeah. But he ran as a progressive. People liked hearing all that shit. We liked hearing about fucking free healthcare, and, you know, ending wars and all that kind of stuff. Especially after all those years under Bush.
Take a drink when you find a lie. You'd be a teetotaler, or whatever they are called. Yeah, I would suggest to the Democrats that since Trump won by just playing caddy to his base and no one else, the Democrats should start doing the same by campaigning more left than centrist.
Yeah,
that's my content.
I think they should just try to animate, because the thing is that like they've spent since Reagan, they've the Democratic dogma has been that you appeal to independent voters. It's the economy, stupid.
Yes.
You just appeal to those people, and those people will get you there. You know, and I think maybe they should go back to being Santa Claus.
Yeah,
just like
no,
the
they
conservatives,
should. Like,
accuse them of.
They just want to give away free stuff.
Yeah,
sure.
People love free stuff.
I do want to give away free stuff.
They should just start saying like, "Hey, man, we're," and instead of being like, they want to, like blah 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 blah, do this. It's like, yeah, we do want to do some of that. You know what I mean? We're gonna do this and that, and you're making that up. We're not planning on doing that, but we're gonna do something that's kind of like that. But I mean, they should just not, and they just get some balls. Do it with some swagger. You know what I mean? Just be like, yeah, that's really stupid, and Ted Cruz is a Zodiac killer.
Dude, my coworker here came to Austria as a kid from Georgia. The country is a huge Trump fan. Not surprising. Him and his wife are moving to Texas next year.
Oh, he'll love it.
I don't know a whole lot about Georgia, the country, but
I know that Russia fucked it up.
Yeah, I think
15 years ago.
There aren't, as somebody who has lived in Texas for 24 years, I don't think there are too many places I would consider to be an upgrade. Texas to be an upgrade over, but I think Georgia would probably be one of them.
I don't know, man. Like, we were thinking, of course, anytime Trump wins, you think, like, okay, where can I move? My friend is moving to Spain. Now, he was moving there before, but, I mean, he works on the Jimmy Kimmel show, and they've already bought their place in Spain. They are like, and the guy in Austria might can chime in here, but so when they went to Spain was like, well, you can't get our national health care here because you're an immigrant. We can't just give it out, but you'll need to get a health insurance policy when you're here. And they're like, okay. So they looked around and they said that the top health insurance policy, like literally gold-plated, diamond encrusted. He's like, you don't pay a dime. Every time you have a sniffle, to the doctor, full court press, 15 surgeries, free nose jobs, whatever it is. Top policy. He's like, you know how much it was? I was like, how much is it? He's like, for me and my wife, and they're my age, he's like, it was $1,800 for the year.
$1,800 for the year?
Yeah. For two people.
How does that break down monthly? Let's see.
Well, it's basically $900 a year. 900 divided by 12.
I want a calculator. I can't.
So it's less than $90. So I'm going to say $84 or something like that a month.
$75.
Oh, I was close. I was just armchairing.
$75 a month
per person.
$75
for the best health care policy you can get.
Do they have like deductibles there?
I don't think there's any deductibles.
Damn.
Yeah.
I mean, just not having deductibles is a huge benefit. I mean, getting rid of that alone in America would make a massive difference. But Jesus Christ, $75. Yeah, I mean, but that's not America.
Yeah.
Go out anywhere outside of America, unless you're like in a developing nation.
They're gonna pay higher taxes. But,
but you see, the thing is, they always ask people about that who live in those countries, and they're like, yeah, our taxes are high, but I like what we get for them.
Yeah.
Which is the thing. Arguing about taxes in that regard, in my view, it's kind of like, going to 7-Eleven and then, being upset about having to pay for gas. It's like, you pay the $20 and your expectation is to get $20 worth of gas, right? Like, you understand the transaction there. And it's the same thing as like paying taxes and getting healthcare out of it. It's like, it is transactional. You're paying your taxes, but because the pool is literally everybody in the country, you end up paying like $10 out of your bi-weekly paycheck.
Yeah.
Which is significantly better than like $120.
Oh, dude, I pay so much for healthcare. In America, I don't think people abroad have any idea what we pay per month and then what our deductibles are. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I could tell you, I could not afford that.
He pays 12% of his pay every month, not by choice, to wait 2 months without his warrant. Well, here's the newsflash, Tom Brokaw. In America, you also wait, maybe not 2 months, but damn near.
Sometimes. The reason I don't have a primary care doctor is because, like,
dude, Getting an appointment is fucking ridiculous.
When I had a stomach issue, like I literally, because I didn't have a primary care doctor, and I was like, maybe I should get one. And then like, you know, I had one for a little while, and I was like, okay, I need to see my doctor. Something's fucked up. And it was like, oh, his next availability is in like, you know, August, which was like 2 months away.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not gonna fucking sit here with this
Yeah.
for 2 months. So I just looked for who has an availability right now. Oh, they do? They're my doctor. And then I go see them, and then it's like, okay, we're gonna have a checkup or a follow-up in 3 weeks or whatever. It's like, cool. Have the follow-up, that's fine. You know, and then, you know, a little while later, I need to see a doctor. Not that person. Not that person, because, you know, they're also like a month or so out. So, availability. Go there. They're my doctor now. The whole new doctor. I just transfer all my fucking information. Like, that's how you have to do it now sometimes, because this whole, oh, you're going to have to wait for a long time to see a doctor.
They tell us that. And then it's like, dude, I wait for a long time now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, I need an appointment. It's like, well, we've got a space November 14th. How does that? And this is like in June. You're like, are you fucking serious? I could be dead from cancer by then. You know what I mean? It's like, but I want to say, I can't remember what we used to pay. I have no idea what I pay now, because my company pays for part of it, and it's all comes out of my paycheck. I have no idea how much it is. I know that, like, let's see, I get $6,000. So basically, I pay like $1,000 a month, I think, out of my paycheck. You know what I mean?
What?
Yeah.
Oh, you're covering the whole family.
Yeah. And but some of
that's still insane.
But that's for taxes too.
Yeah, that's still insane.
But I want to say before, when we were on Cobra or something, we had a private policy.
Fucking,
I think I
kill
was
yourself.
Like
just
13,
swallow a pistol.
$1,300 or something like that, or $1,500 a month.
Cobra is like, we'll take your pinky.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand how that was ever pitched as like a good policy, because Cobra is like a bridge. It's like a bridge policy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you're in between things, but like somehow it's even more fucking detrimental to your finances than just having normal insurance.
I want to say we got a policy at one point, and it was a little cheaper. I want to say it was like $1,100 a month or something like that for the three of us, but it was a fucking joke. It was like $18,000 deductible or something just fucking crazy. Yeah, it's a fucking nightmare, dude. So, you know, I understand it bums you out that you have to wait that long, but if you don't have to pay like $1,500 a month out of your paycheck, you know, you probably are.
Yeah. Gods, I feel you so hard on that. I have an idea how expensive it is over there. An acquaintance told me about their dentist bills. Yeah. May I ask what you earn per month?
Well, it's very personal. I want to.
Oh, you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but curiosity.
I'll give you let's see. So I make money in two ways. Well, three ways. I make money in royalties, which are paid what we call 1099, which is just paid to me, and I don't pay any taxes on it. I have to pay taxes at the end of the year. And then I'm on salary, and then I make money for like voice talent freelance stuff, and that's also 1099. But just the salary, the salary part of my pay, I don't know exactly what my monthly check is supposed to be. Let me do the math real quick. I can tell you somewhere. I'll give you a ballpark.
Do you guys think the Democrats should search for candidates that has the potential to stir public interest by blending celebrity, controversy, and political engagement, and is for a public option? Wow, that is a very specific question. Hold on a sec. Let me think about that.
Holy shit, really?
Stir public interest by blending celebrity, controversy. I mean, it sounds like you have a specific person in mind, Numbers. Do you have somebody in mind? I mean, public option, honestly, I was like, to me, public... Oh, wait, I'm in an ad break. Well, did you...
Yeah, I did the math. I'm like, holy shit.
Oh.
I just realized how much money I paid on my check to the every 2 weeks. I'm like, oh my God.
1 second. Let's take a slight break and wait for the ad to end so that
Yeah, I was doing a whole speech earlier, and then someone was like, it's on an ad, dude.
Yeah, Twitch. I think it should be over now-ish. Yeah, numbers. Do you have like a specific person in mind? Because it sounds like you do, but like public option that was my concession to Kamala, because I am a single payer healthcare person. Like I think we should do Medicare for all.
Yeah, dude.
You know, but recognizing that she was fucking going after the Dick Cheney shit. Like my thing was, okay, you have to start talking about like issues that are gonna positively affect people immediately and demonstrably, like no esoteric weird shit, like raise the minimum wage, public option, like you could sell it. You could sell it as we are going to fulfill the promise of President Obama with the Affordable Care Act by finally instituting a public option. That's all I had to do, because then you invoke Obama. People love that guy still. You know, it makes it very hard for Democrats to attack it, because it's Obama. He did campaign on it in 2008.
Yeah.
People still like
Plus,
that guy.
you could do the, you know, not the single payer, but you could do the private provider, but public payer. That's what they do in South Korea. It's effective. So you still have all the private provider hospitals and shit. Of course, they would all get pissed off because they already hate Medicare, because they can't circle jerk each other with Medicare like they can with fucking, you know, all the health.
I'd prefer to put them out of business entirely.
Yeah,
but
me too.
There are a number of concessions I'm willing to make to move towards where we should be. Public option is one of them, but that's not.
Public option would have been something, man.
Yeah, that's not where I would want to start at.
I would have hung my hat on one of those things. Honestly, I think they should just gone single payer. I think they should have just gone like, we're tired of fucking around. The shit's too expensive. It's over. The fucking gravy train is over.
Yeah,
single payer.
So if you're asking me about like a 2026 candidate, who I want from the start, supporting single payer is going to be a requirement. Like that's who I want. Like public option, no. We're at the point where we need Medicare for all. I've already reached my concession, and she lost, so fuck it. It doesn't matter anymore. Go for public option, or go for Medicare for all.
We're not gonna have shit for 4 years, so you know.
Yeah. Because what you said you pay for medical alone is more than what I pay for monthly. Oh yeah, what's your
Okay, so on my salary job, I make between, depending on the month or whatever, I make between $3,000 and $4,000 every 2 weeks, and that's raw before I pay money to the government and to Social Security and to healthcare. And I set myself up to pay the maximum amount possible they could take out of my taxes, because I make so much 1099 income that
it kind of balances out.
It keeps me from having to pay more at the end of the year, because the government takes a bunch. So basically, of that money between the 3 and 4, I basically pay about $1,000 every 2 weeks out of my paycheck.
All right. Well, there you go.
There you go. Very personal information, but.
And you know that there's a big push, you know, amongst, and it's a big union thing too, that to depersonalize talking about your income. Like, you know, when people feel like it's a private thing, that just empowers people to lowball salaries. So it's better to communicate your wages and whatnot amongst your cohort. Obviously, you know, you don't have to share it with any random person,
funny,
but
like,
amongst your cohort.
A guy I was working with told me how much he makes.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm just, because he and I were having drinks when I was in St. Louis the last time. He said, I'm just putting that on the table. I'm paid this. I think I deserve a raise. I'm like, dude, I'm not making that. You know what I mean? So it's funny too, because I was like, man, if I there's a couple of reasons why I haven't gone in there and say I want to make what he makes.
Yeah.
Because it's a long story, but basically I don't want them being like, well, did you work for these guys over here? And you know, because I'm not theoretically supposed to do that.
Yeah.
It's all cool. It's not, and I don't do very much of that, but occasionally it comes up, and I just don't want to give them a reason to, you know.
Yeah.
But my point is that, like, yes, you're exactly right. Like, if I went in and said I want more money, I could say I know for a fact this dude's making this, and I should be making that.
AKA, should the Democrats have its own Trump? I mean, I think the answer is yes. They obviously should have their own Trump, but keeping in mind that
I don't know.
You have to. Well, the thing is, Trump. Like, you have to understand
what part of Trump do you mean?
the part that like does whatever they need to win. Because the thing is, you have to understand what the difference between a left-wing extremist and a right-wing extremist is.
Yeah.
Right-wing extremist, you know, a left-wing extremist wants to give everyone health care, you know, and build bullet trains everywhere and, you know, all that kind of shit. Right-wing extremist wants to kick out all the immigrants and cut taxes for, you know, Trump is talking about eliminating all income tax. Now, that's obviously not going to happen because
the government will be bankrupt in microseconds.
Hey, if you want another link to read or something, I say Google Sam Brownback, Kansas experiment. Sam Brownback, Kansas experiment. Because you will learn what happens when you eliminate income taxes. But yeah, like there's a radical difference between what you're going to get out of a left-wing extremist and a right-wing extremist, morally speaking. If you're asking if I want somebody who supports, you know, these policies, Medicare for all and all that sort of stuff, but, you know, isn't like a polished, you know, central casting Aaron Sorkin politician, sure, why wouldn't you want that? Those guys do very well right now because we're living in a populist era. This is what Democrats don't understand. We are in the era of populism right now. And
it's true.
Running a non-populist candidate is setting yourself up for failure. Like, and then it's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. So you phrase the question as like, you know, celebrity and or celebrity or controversy and all that, but really the question is, you want a populist.
Yeah, I wouldn't want any of those people. I wouldn't want Dwayne The Rock Johnson because I just don't think he's got the, you know, Mark Cuban. I mean, he's okay, but it's like...
he came up with names. Dwayne The Rock Johnson, Mark Cuban, Jon Stewart.
And I love Jon Stewart, but Jon Stewart, I think, is almost more valuable doing what he does and not as a politician.
Yeah, I wouldn't want any of those guys either.
But the thing is that, like, I think that your point about, you know, the slickness, you know, and I said before that I think Newsom, I just don't know. I don't know where the dead hooker is. You know what I mean? But there's one. There's one somewhere. Gotta be one somewhere, dude. Because that guy, you know, seemed to have this shit sewn up. Especially when he was handing fucking Sean Hannity his ass on fucking Fox News.
No, that was great to see. In his weird debate with Ted Cruz, that was good too.
Owned his ass. I mean,
yeah,
and that guy, I mean, you know, he's
no progressive though. Like,
you know, well, I mean, shit.
He's not going to do Medicare for all. Like, again, if we're going for like what we want from the very start, like I'm going elsewhere. I'm looking for, you know, a, you know, progressive populist.
Yeah, but it's like so there was this phenomenon, right, when YouTube, like the arc of YouTube, that like a lot of YouTubers would get kind of big and then they'd be like, I'm gonna fucking take this show to the next level. They get better cameras and they get a set and they'd go rent a thing, and like a lot of those shows, almost all of them failed. You know what I mean? Because something about the medium of YouTube is people would rather watch people in their bedrooms. That's just part of the thing. It's part of the appeal of YouTube. Yeah. And a lot of the more slick produced shows, all the like the Smoshes and the Colliders and all those I think Collider's still around, but you know, a lot of those things went belly up. You know what I mean? You know, Rooster Teeth, you know, went belly up over time, because the thing is that what people liked about YouTube was
the authenticity.
Yeah, that they were just seeing some dude in his basement talking to the camera. You know what I mean? And a lot of YouTubers that were on shows like that realized that, dude, I can just do this at home. No sets, no bullshit, no staff, and I make the same amount of money because I actually have more viewers. I think that there's an element of that's reflected in our politics to some degree. That people like that unvarnished. That's one of the things people like about Trump. The fact that he acted like he was giving a blowjob to a microphone stand would seem completely, disqualifying in any other period of human history, going back to maybe the pyramids, or, you know. But for some reason, in this moment right now, it makes you the president of the United States. I mean, like, dude, Gary Hart was like on top of the world. That dude was fucking a shoe-in. It was turns out he cheated on his wife. It was overnight.
Well, that was one of the first instances of, like, you know, those kinds of controversies, you know, dredging up or tanking a candidacy. I think that, like, that I feel like that kind of you know, giving a blowjob to a mic or whatever. It only has power if you allow it to have power. And I think that's a part of the lesson that Trump has taught. Well, he hasn't taught Democrats. Maybe he just taught me. Like, like
Devin.
If like, because here's the thing, Biden, when he's like, you know, the only garbage I saw were Trump supporters.
Oh, dude, Democrats are so like Trump is so graded on a curve. It's fucking ridiculous.
Well, but
dude.
yeah, but it's because he doesn't allow himself to fall into the trap that Democrats do. Because Democrats, the media will be like, Joe Biden said blah blah blah, and then Democrats are like spending all their time walking it back and like trying to overly explain
Trump has no
it.
shame. That's the thing, is that it's like what's his face says in the Devil's Advocate is like, you know, it's like a guilt is a bag of bricks. You just let it go. He doesn't.
Why
give
are
a
you
shit.
carrying that bag of bricks?
Yeah, he doesn't give a shit. He's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I said that, and she's a fat pig, and blah blah. You know, I doubled down on that. He doubled down, and no, everyone's like, yeah, I don't. He doesn't seem to think there's a problem there. You know what I mean?
But that allows him to cut right through the riffraff and speak directly to his people, exactly what he wants to say to them, you know, and that's just a part of, you know, that's a part of the art of his deal, I guess. I don't know. Would that translate to other types of people? I don't know, but I feel like the reaction that the non-media class had to Biden's garbage statement told me that maybe, like, I think people will be out, like, it is kind of like comedians getting canceled, right? It's like, well,
some of them are just dying to be canceled.
Well, a comedian can get canceled if they're not funny or if people just don't like them.
Yeah.
But like, if you're funny, then you're not going to get canceled. Like Louis C.K. had bits where he would just drop the hard R constantly.
Yeah, he did.
But he was never canceled over it because the bits were funny. He was canceled over other shit that's a little different. But, you know, for those particular bits, he was never canceled for it because people genuinely found him funny.
Well, the thing is people still find him funny.
And people still find him
sold out Madison Square Garden.
And
like
people,
3
yeah,
nights
he
in a
just
row.
doesn't get the media coverage.
Yeah,
but
just,
like, which is why I'm like, canceling isn't a real thing, but it's a thing, but it's not a real thing.
It's weird because it's like it is a thing. And it's not. It's both. It's like
it's a thing.
Schrodinger's canceling. It's like to someone that hates Louis C.K. and thinks when they say, oh, he's not been canceled. He still sells out Madison Square Garden. You know, it's bullshit. You can't cancel him. You know what I mean? And you're like, you're right. But I can tell that you kind of wished you could. You know, I mean, I read multiple articles. Is it just too much to ask for Louis C.K. to go away and never come back? It's like, yeah,
it's a little bit like,
yeah. Why would you even ask that? Of course it is. You know what I mean? That's what he does. You know, when you're funny, and some of these, and the thing is when someone finds you funny, because you know, funny is not objective; it's subjective. But if you have an audience that finds you funny, and they don't cease to find you funny when some other people get mad at you, or even some of them get mad at you, you can still put people in Madison Square Garden sold out 3 nights in a row. Why wouldn't you do that? You know what I mean? It's like
it's that same vibe, and that's the Trump thing too, and even the Biden thing to a degree, where it's like, you know, you can get in trouble by pretending to, you know, blow a mic stand or by calling a bunch of supporters of somebody else garbage. You know, if people either don't like you or if they just don't, or if you give them the power to have that power, and Trump doesn't give people that power a lot of the times.
I think some of the frustration too on all accounts of the people that like, because the thing is that at the same time it's like, you're right, they can't be canceled in that regard. People that legitimately find them funny aren't going to cease to find them funny anymore. You know what I mean? Because you don't think they're funny anymore.
Right.
It's like I think there's an issue like, but you did damage these people. You know what I mean? You made things very, very difficult.
That's
for
why
them.
I said, like, it's possible. Like,
It's
like you can cancel someone, but you can't really cancel them. Like, you can cause hardship. You can definitely cause like some setback, You can cause a setback.
Yeah, depending on who it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe you can damage them really bad, Harvey Weinstein style. Although
well, that's different.
The law, you know what I
yeah,
mean?
that guy's a criminal.
Yeah, he's in jail.
That's more of a social. That's less of a social pariah and more of like a criminal.
He got canceled by the government.
Yeah,
but
I would say more like oh geez, I don't even know. Like Aziz Ansari, where it's like,
dude, that's just a fucking travesty. I feel so bad for Aziz Ansari.
Yeah, and it's like it was completely
because that dude's career has not rebounded.
Not to the degree. I mean, he does shows and stuff, but not to the degree. I mean, he was on top of it with that Netflix show.
Of the world.
Yeah, he was rolling, and basically, like what tanked him was a bad date. What it sounds like to me was like, oh, he's a shitty date.
Yeah.
Okay, but
it's also very that whole thing is very strange.
That's an instance where you can be canceled, and yeah, but I know he still does shows.
No, he's not canceled. He still works. He's directing a movie right now, or was direct. He's and I think he did a final season of his show, but he wasn't the main character in his own show.
I remember that.
It's fucking ridiculous. That. But it's just like, dude. The dude has that over his head. It's not the same as it was before that, and it's kind of bullshit. You know what I mean? But the thing is that like, it's very strange to me.
Oh, he's the director, writer, producer of a upcoming movie.
Yeah, that progressives are classically the party of restorative justice. You know what I mean? And people serving their time, and like. There are murderers and rapists that have gone to prison, been rehabilitated, who like, you got to give these guys another chance, blah, blah, blah. There's movements about it, documentaries about it. Yet, people still get, some of the same crowd still gets their feathers ruffled when Aziz Ansari, has a comedy bit, has a comedy special or something. It's like, well, he has a lot of, is it just too much to ask? It's like, yeah. It's too much to ask, dude. How long do these guys have to, I don't know, man. That's the whole thing.
What I never understand is how people say Republicans will lower taxes, but they never do. They just cut social programs.
They lower taxes for rich people.
They cut taxes for rich people.
Yeah.
But that's why, you see, when you cut taxes for rich people,
those are job creators.
You take a lot of tax revenue out of the system.
Yeah.
And then in order to balance that out, that's when you have to cut social programs. So the one hand feeds the other there.
Yeah.
And that, by the way, Jamois, because I know we were talking about it a little bit on the last stream, that is an excellent example of an austerity program, of our austerity politics, cutting social programs so you can.
And it's also rooted in kind of a neoliberal concept where people with money are theoretically better, and thus they deserve tax breaks, and people who need social programs
because
just haven't discovered their bootstraps yet.
They'll take those tax cuts and then they'll use it to reinvest in society and create jobs make and all that better. Sort of stuff. That stupid trickle-down bullshit. The age of populism, I really don't like that. Never heard it phrased like that. I mean, that's what it is, though. And populism is undeniably a double-edged sword. Bedrooms, yep, looks as Asmongold, or look at Asmongold from his bedroom. Almost every video gets 1 million views a day.
Yeah, look at Moist Critical, man. That guy is like on top of the world, and he just like streams from his bedroom.
I think it's a Office Space he streams in.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
I thought it was like a bedroom in his house, like not his personal bedroom, but like it would make sense that he would have a staff, though.
Oh yeah, because he has a second YouTube channel where he does more normal YouTube video type stuff.
Yeah.
So modern, postmodern, populist. Is that the progression?
I don't know. I'd say I don't think those are. I'd say we're still probably in the postmodern era, but I would. Like you wouldn't refer to politicians as modern or postmodern. Like you would refer to media as modern or postmodern. Movies and or television shows.
When you say populist, are you saying people like Bernie Sanders, Tim Walz, and AOC?
For
populist
sure.
left, yes. For Bernie, Tim Walz a little bit. He has a little bit of that bend. AOC does too. I think Bernie and AOC lead into it more than Tim Walz does, but I am a Tim Walz fan. he is a little less. I don't want to say he's a little less pop. It's weird because like it's not that he's less populous. I think he's just more rural. And you could easily mistake the one for the other. That's what Republicans have buttered their bread by passing off rural as populism.
Have you seen Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Oh my God! Like I used to have the soundtrack in high school.
Great soundtrack. Yeah, that's a great movie. But there's a populist.
I can't remember the movie.
Running for office.
I need to rewatch it. I can't remember the movie. I just know that I had the soundtrack. You think Trump surviving 2 assassination attempts helped him?
It certainly jazzed his base.
I guess it jazzed his base, but I mean,
they were
again,
already pretty damn jazzed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it
really jazzed after that shit.
I don't think it moved the needle. Because he still ended up with 3 million less votes that he got in 2020. So, you know, I don't think it really moved the needle either way. Those people were going to support him no matter what, and I don't think there were a whole lot of people that were like, I wasn't gonna vote for Trump, but then, you know, someone tried to shoot him, and now I don't think that happened. I just think that people have their minds made up for the most part, and they weren't going to be dissuaded by that sort of thing happening.
I mean, honestly, it just seems like the data bears out that just a lot of Democrats didn't show up.
Yeah, that's what it was. The base was deactivated, so that's what happens.
There wasn't enough. She just didn't get everybody hype. They thought it was going to... And maybe it was also part of the polls. You know, it's like... I mean, the polls generally had her ahead, more or less, most of the time by like 2 to 3 points in the last month.
I don't think so. Because like the polls that I was seeing in the last month.
Well, in the last week and a half before the election, they really tightened up. But when I was looking in like early October, generally every night that I looked, I was looking at Washington Post. It had her up by 2, up by 3. I mean, it's within the margin of error, but up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess I was seeing polls that was showing more of a back and forth. Some had her up by 1 or 2. Some had Trump up by 1 or 2. Like, it was just mixed enough for me to have worries, which is, well, you know, what I expressed in that text thread. Oh, right. I wanted to ask about the assassination attempts 2 earlier. There was a second even.
Yeah,
that second one I wouldn't really call an attempt, but there was a guy.
I think he had concepts of an assassination.
Yeah. Yeah. Boy streamed a SpongeBob Krabby Patty Wendy's burger review from his garage, car running, garage door closed. His dad came out and yelled at him. Oh, boy.
There you
go. Wait, austerity. I vaguely remember what we talked about, but I got a practical example now. Thank you. Yeah, no worries. No worries. You got a bolt?
I got a bolt, man. I was gonna do work, but now I think I might just go to bed.
I mean, that sounds like a worthy plan to me.
Yeah. So, you know, we figured it out.
Yeah, I mean, this
all
is
fixed.
So everything. I mean,
I think we figured it out pretty well. Everyone that watched, you can now
rest easy, y'all. We solved the problem.
We figured it all out. It's all. If anyone. If any stormtroopers show up and try to give you any of the business from our new Fuhrer, all you have to say is, "Well, I got the word from the guys on Yale Nerdcast that."
Well, luckily, Jay Mois won't have to deal with that on over here, at least, being Austrian heading towards Netherlands.
Nice.
Slightly jealous of that.
Get a bike. People are into bikes in the Netherlands.
I've got trains. I'm jealous. We were finally
trains in fucking Boston, man.
I'm not going to Boston,
dude. Boston's pretty nice. Like Salem
in the summer, probably. I can't do the winters there.
I don't know. I've never been there during the winter. I've been there during the fall, and it's amazing.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
But just the trains are amazing. Like we.
I need to go check it out
because we were in. I mean, they're not like high speed, but we were in Boston.
No, but Metro
Rail
is
downtown.
awesome too.
We took it everywhere, all over the place. And then we got on a fucking ferry, and we rode the ferry up the coast to Salem, got off the ferry, And then we were walking, and like, that's the House of the Seven Gables right there. And we walked down to town, and there was a fucking huge Halloween festival. Everything was awesome. And we were going to restaurants, drinking beers, having a great time. And at the end of the day, we just walked up the street and caught a fucking train back to Boston, and then caught a little subway back to our hotel. Boom, it was great.
That sounds awesome.
No cars involved.
Sounds like, my experience in Japan, which is all I really want for here.
Yeah.
But
it exists on the East Coast, sort of.
Yeah. Well, I definitely need to go check it out.
You don't need to you don't need to learn to speak Japanese.
Oh, but I'm just doing that for fun.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let me toss on my outro thing here. Well, good night to you. Thank you. I learned a lot, honestly. Well, I'm happy to hear that, kind of. It's also a little disturbing that I would have something to say that would warrant being a proctor, but hey, you know what? I'm glad to help. Thank you.
He'll take the win.
I understand why you would be jealous, but moving is a heck of a lot easier if you for you, as far as I know, even with the EU.
Oh yeah, they give you the business about moving, changing countries.
That makes sense. Yeah, the states aren't like that.
Not at all, dude.
You can go from state to state.
You can go stand in 4 of them at once if you go to that place where they all converge.
I've never done that.
I think I did it one time, but I also might have just watched the movie.
All right. Well, I'm gonna take off for the night too. So, thank you everybody for joining. I appreciate it as always.
Stay strong, everybody. I was gonna say it's gonna be okay, but I'm not really sure if it is.
Yeah,
but, it might be.
We'll figure it out. Yeah. We'll figure it out. I'll be back tomorrow. I don't know what I'm gonna stream. Probably Oblivion, but we'll see. Take it easy, y'all.